Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of After Dark. My name is Aaron Knoll. Thank you guys so much for those of you who are tuning in and watching, whether it's live or on the post show. We are here once again for another week to talk about all the latest in the world of movie news, there's the whole panel, but
there was a lady.
the
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
the two stories that dropped. There really wasn't that much this week, so we'll be kind of getting into some discussions and doing some fun other things. I'm going to play like that didn't happen, even though it happened. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel one by one. We got some regulars, we got some guests. Joining us first on screen, he is the man whose face used to be on this channel, quite literally. Now it's been removed, but Mr. Matt Beer.
How's it going? I'm just debating on buying a You're Tearing Me Apart Lisa shirt. Right now it's on sale for $13, so should I buy it? Let me know in the comments. Also, like the stream so more people can watch this live. Thank you.
Mr. Grant Gregory joins us again. How's it going, man?
Yeah, going good. Good to see that we got a full panel and someone that I thought was cancelled, but apparently has been uncancelled. So congratulations.
That's just called me knowing how to text him. It's really not that hard. Joining us, Mr. Chris Diaz, who just went to a black screen. I'll come back. Nope, there he is. Okay. This will be fun. How's it going, Chris?
Doing good. That's a break from Saving the Universe at Commander Shepard to and his legendary edition to come on this panel.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and move on to the next member. He's been here a couple of times over the last few weeks, but I love having him, so I'm happy to have him back again. Mr. Raymond. Mehdi, how's it going?
What's up, motherfuckers? Matt, you should buy that shirt. Chris, I approve of video game choices. I'm still trying to get away or get closer to Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil, but whatever movie news came out, we'll talk about it, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if anything happened.
Well, I guess we'll find out, right? And also joining us, he used to be there we go again. He used to be a somewhat regular feature on the channel by way of Movie Battleground, but that died, and now he's back years later. Mr. Henry Sanchez. I'll give you the same treatment as everybody else. How's it going?
I don't know. The only thing I want to know is who Grant's talk about being canceled. Everyone here is Angels, and no one has an issue with anybody.
It was me.
Yeah.
It was me.
Mehdi, it's all good. We have enough white guilt. Well, we're going to forgive anything that you did.
That's how I've been running this in the last couple of years now.
All right. Well, that set me up for a pretty good transition. Speaking of white guilt, Knives Out put together a hell of a cast this week that we can go ahead and get into and talk about. And they're not the only one. I'll do both of these at the same time, actually, since they're both kind of casting stories. So the first thing is Knives Out has put together their lead cast, mostly comprised of Marvel actors, because that's kind of all Hollywood seems to have nowadays. But I mean, literally all the individual headlines for each of these people was Marvel actor cast, and it's like, really? No shit. They have everyone in Hollywood in their pocket. They're about to start. They have so many actors. They're probably gonna start hopping into Bollywood next because they're gonna need new actors. But let's go ahead. If you saw the thumbnail before you clicked on it, you saw those four actors. Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, and Catherine Hahn were added to the cast. They will be joining Daniel Craig in the film that is being written and directed by Rian Johnson and will be the second of 3 films. The movie is set to begin filming later this year. I believe June is the predicted date, and they will be filming in Greece. And it's assumed that if the cast is as large as the first films, more members will be added before they begin filming. But literally this week, one by one, like day after day, these cast members got announced. So it's worth putting it all together. And then the other one that got announced, I'll just do both of them at the same time, was we actually technically got a couple pieces of news related to Indiana Jones. I don't think 2 of these came out exactly this week, but they were very recent, so they're worth mentioning. The first one is that obviously we had more cast members join the film. Actors Boyd Holbrook, who is best known for his role in Logan, and Shawnette Renee Wilson, who was one of the cast members of the film Black Panther, have both joined the film in currently unannounced roles. We also learned this week that the James Mangold, who is writing and directing the film, will not be writing the film alone. He will be joined by writers Jez and John Henry Butterworth. The two of them have previously worked with Mangold, co-writing Ford v Ferrari. Other films they're known for include Get On Up and Edge of Tomorrow. We also learned this week officially that John Williams will be coming back to compose the film. So that is officially in the books. John Williams will score the film. So we have a bit of news for both films, some casting, some behind-the-scenes stuff for Indiana Jones. For those of you who watch regularly, you'll notice I just read all of that live. There wasn't enough news this week to even be worth putting videos together for this show. So I'm just going to cold read all of it because it's not worth putting together a minute video. I put too much work into it. Matt, I'll go to you first to kind of start this off. Between all the castings and behind-the-scenes stuff announced between these two films, what kind of intrigues you most?
I like the casting. Obviously, getting Edward Norton in the movie is a big plus. I know he can be a pain in the ass sometimes when it comes to shooting movies, but still super talented. Just going to make the movie better. Catherine Hahn is interesting, I think, for the movie, but she kind of fits the tone that the first one went. I thought she did a really good job in WandaVision, even if I wasn't the biggest fan of it by the end of the show. And then, what's his face? Dave Bautista. Nice to see him kind of branch out a little more. I know he was in Blade Runner, but see him do something like this, assuming it's going to be a pretty big role, kind of nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was actually, I remembered, I was just scrolling back through my notes because I thought there was another casting thing this week. But I can, do you guys want me to read this one off as well to let you guys have that, or do you want to just go through this first and then I can read this?
Go for it.
Sure.
All right. So the other one that was announced this week was Borderlands. Borderlands is currently in production, and we had a number of their main stars that were already confirmed, being that Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Cate Blanchett, Jane Curtis would be leading the film. We'd also previously heard that child actress Ari Blatt and Creed 2 actor Florian Munteanu had been added to the cast. But this week, a bulk of the ensemble of this film actually got announced and built out as they're currently filming. We also got official confirmation of the plot synopsis for the film. So the synopsis basically states that the 6 previously announced big cast members, who are all basically characters from the game. We have Cate Blanchett as Lilith the Siren, Kevin Hart as Roland. Ariana Greenblatt will be playing Tiny Tina, with her protector being played by Florian Munteanu. And then Jack Black will be playing Claptrap. So the 5 of them will be working as a team in the film after Cate Blanchett's character is sent to the planet of Pandora to rescue Atlas, Atlas's daughter, Atlas being the head of one of the biggest corporations on Earth. I'm obviously kind of rushing it and butchering it, but basically it's a rescue film. They're going to rescue the daughter of this very important and powerful person. In the video games, the Atlas Corporation. I don't know if you ever actually meet an Atlas character, but the Atlas Corporation is like the big bad of the games. So the cast for this film, kind of the rounded out ensemble, Haley Bennett was added, Edgar Ramirez was added, Olivier Richters was added. So he is a stuntman who is transitioning into acting. He'll appear in Black Widow and The Kingsman coming up. Star Wars actress Janina Gavankar was added. Gina Gershon was added. American Horror Story actor Cheyenne Jackson was added. Legend of Tarzan actor Charles Babalola was added. And now we're getting into names that people. The other one that stood out to me was comedian Bobby Lee was added to the cast. The rest of them are names that are so small you wouldn't recognize them. But yeah, so that's the other one. So basically that cast is kind of as filled out as I think it's going to get. I want to touch on that one because I remember I put it in there because it stood out to me, because the games, though they don't have a lot of story, they do have their own kind of set story of these 4 characters that are kind of vault hunting for treasure. Now, it's not much of a story, admittedly, but I find it interesting that they're taking such a diversion from the game that they wouldn't even include all 4 of those characters. Only 2 of the main 4 characters from the first game, in Kevin Hart and Cate Blanchett's characters, are being included. The rest of the lead cast is being made up of side characters from the game. And I believe Jamie Lee Curtis's character is an original creation for the film. So it's kind of interesting that they're kind of nitpicking and taking pieces of the game and reconstructing it to make something new, rather than just straight up copying it and trying to kind of add and layer story on, as we've seen other video games fail and do, video movies. Chris, I'll go to you because I can see you got your hand up, and then we'll kind of go around in a circle and talk about what you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who played a Borderlands game, I do love them. Kind of sad because I hope one day, maybe in the sequel, to see Handsome Jack in the movie, because that's one of the best villains in Borderlands and such a great character. You had to get the right actor to play in the movie. But, I mean, Eli Roth hit a miss that might make it way more of a director than the cast itself. Especially for a game like Borderlands and how fun it is. And Eli Roth does get that fun that they worry me a lot because I have fun playing the game all the time. The Telltale Borderlands game are my favorite out of them. But who knows? I hear hoping it be good. I wish they had Hanson Jack, my only wish. But who knows? Maybe they see this for a sequel.
God forbid if this movie makes money. Video game movies tend not to. Madi, I'll go to you next. Between Knives Out, Indiana Jones, and Borderlands, which of these gets you the most interested?
The most interested I'm going to say is the Knives Out one, because I mean Indiana Jones, I'm pretty sure it's going to be good. I mean James Mangold's done really great work the last couple movies he's done.
Thank you for correcting me, Malcolm.
Yeah, and like the cast in there, I'm not expecting them to do anything bad. And like they've been slowly gathering the cast, but Knives Out. The reason I'm excited is like Dave Bautista's kind of quietly been putting together some pretty solid movies, other than like a couple of the comedies that he's done, like My Spy and whatever.
Stuber.
Yeah, like there's been a couple bad ones, but like overall, like I like him in the Guardians movies, even though I feel like he's not used properly, and he apparently agrees with me.
Yeah, that's also part of the reason the news cycle is dead. More than half of the stories I read were Dave Bautista comments on.
Yeah, like that's Dave Bautista's having himself a fucking career. But I mean, Blade Runner 2049, I thought he was really good in the limited role that he had, and then they had that little short film that they did before as well, which I thought he was really good in. Janelle Monáe, I've liked her in the movies I've seen her in. Edward Norton is, usually pretty good on screen. I mean, yeah, he can get a little bit wild, but fuck it, who cares? And then I don't even remember who the last name was on that list.
Han.
Catherine Hahn.
Oh yeah, Catherine Hahn. It was probably her all along. What do you want me to say? Like that's like
I shouldn't have reminded you. It was my joke. You fuck.
Did you say it? I didn't read. Oh, Malcolm said it right there too. But no, it was like that. And then I love Knives Out 1 and Daniel Craig coming back. If he makes another donut hole speech, I'm in. Like, I don't know what else I can say about it. But I don't know. I really enjoyed the first movie. I'm really excited to see the second one. Indiana Jones just coming off of that ridiculous alternate universe one. It'll be weird. Also, John Williams is like 98 years old. What is he doing still working? Like, I appreciate that he's still working. But damn, man, just like take a seat and relax for a minute. Like, we don't want you to like.
He's gonna compose his own funeral. I mean, at this point.
Really, it's like coming to America. I want to be at my own funeral. I'm gonna make sure the music's all done right, and then
if anyone's gonna do it, it's going to be him.
It is gonna be him. Like, it has. Like, there's no one else I can imagine. Like, actually, can you imagine like Hans Zimmer like doing the composition for his funeral? He's gonna wake up like, no, stop. Add more violins here. Do this there.
God forbid they butcher a note.
What?
I said, God forbid they butcher a note.
Oh, yeah, fuck. Can you imagine? He literally turned in his grave for everyone to see. And everyone was like, oh, shit, that trumpet player.
He beat John Joni from Coming to America.
Yeah, like, relax, John Williams. We appreciate your greatness, but relax.
You were close. John Williams is 89 years old. You just got the numbers inversed.
89. Fuck's sake. If I'm still alive at 89, I'm just going to end up laying there until I die. Like, I'm not going to try and do anything.
Jesus. That man was like 87 years old composing a Star Wars film. Think about that. Like,
it's fucking nuts.
That was still one of the better parts of that film. Henry, out of the 3 films that were mentioned and all the news brought up about them, what kind of excites you the most based off what we learned?
Well, my first question is, are we going to change the title of Knives Out to Knife Out, and then this one's Knives Out? You know what I mean? Because I don't really want to call it Knives Out 1. Like, that just doesn't work for me. But the cast sounds fun. You know what I mean? Just like the first cast, it's they're gonna be well written and it's gonna work together. Knives Out is one of my favorite movies of the last few years. It just I love it so much, and I can watch it anytime. It's fun, it's thrilling, and it's got a good story, and I like the way that they were able to shift in the middle. So I already know that it's gonna, probably be put together, or it's gonna be complete dog shit. I don't think it's gonna be average. It's either gonna be just as good, if not better than the first one, or complete trash because they tried to do something too weird. In terms of Indiana Jones at this point, who knows? It's been talked about for years at this point. So either they have an amazing story that they're going to work with, or they just don't know what they're going to do, and they're just hoping for the best. The cast is good, so it's just a hope of that it actually pays off. But who knows? And then for Borderland, I don't really know any. Well, I don't know any of the context of that. I just looked up some pictures. I mean, it looks interesting. The cast, is fun, and can we get another planet with the name Pandora coming out in the next couple years? I guess so. So we're just gonna have some fun with these weird over-the-top sci-fi movies and see what happens.
I'm double checking my facts, but I believe the first Borderlands came out. It came out the same year as Avatar, but I think it actually came out before Avatar.
Fucking Avatar, just stealing from everywhere.
Yeah, James
Cameron's nothing's original in that film.
James Cameron, he steals aliens, he steals the Titanic. He just like, oh, that I did. It was me all along. Oh wait, no, it's Catherine Hahn.
With the Indiana Jones thing, though, I will say I like the addition of those writers.
I do like David Cope. I think did I mix them up?
So Cope's not writing this one. The two that got added were their brothers, Jez and then John Henry Butterworth. Their three biggest credits are Ford v Ferrari, which they did with Mangold, obviously, and then Get On Up, the Boseman film, and Edge of Tomorrow, which I think
we're talking about Borderland. I thought we were going back to Indiana Jones. That's why I was
No, this is Indiana Jones.
Yeah, on mine it says Kasdan, Kaufman, Cope, and George Lucas, just from old days. Like they're probably using it. Am I?
Yeah. That's probably it's incorrect. It's incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one is it's. So they may be using a story from them, but the actual script itself, Mangold was given complete creative control over, and he's brought these two guys in to work with him. Edge of Tomorrow is a great action film, and Indiana Jones needs to have great action. And I think Get On Up and Ford v Ferrari are two really well-written dramas. So I'm looking forward to the writing that they can add to this. As long as we don't pull out another, oh my God, Shia LaBeouf's related to Harrison Ford, we'll be good.
Is Shia LaBeouf in this movie?
Not as of yet, no.
Okay.
Oh, is he still in the fridge?
Was Shia LaBeouf in the Indiana Jones movie? So he had to be a little kid at that point.
No, he was in 4.
You're right. Grant, go ahead.
There's not a fourth one yet.
Yeah.
Fourth one's coming next.
All right. Well, I might vary. Rian Johnson fan. Pre 2012. I didn't really like Knives Out all that much. I can't believe they're giving him $500 million for 2 films. I mean, just flush the money away. He works great with low budget stuff. His earlier stuff is great. It's phenomenal. Yeah, he's gotten better at writing, but I think the more money you give him, the worse it's going to be. I mean, the cast for Knives Out, yeah, they're fine.
That's where most of the budget's going, is the cast.
Yeah, probably.
No, but I mean, he got paid. Like, it's ridiculous how much he's getting paid.
Deserves it,
bro.
Listen, if each film is 250 million, if each film is 250 million, I'd be okay if the cast is grossly overpaid if it does restrict his budget, because I do agree with you. He's a great indie director. He works well with restricted limitations.
It's also a great big budget director too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the
since we all agree,
one
Last
is
Jedi is
interesting.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I like it, but-
it's
fantastic.
I mean,
Go ahead, Grant.
yeah, it's the Citizen Kane of our generation. It's fucking brilliant. I can't wait
It
to see it again.
absolutely is. Thank you for recognizing the genius. How's that movie?
All right.
Just makes me want to go gamble.
The
Next to Rise of Skywalker.
Borderlands,
What?
I found out about like eight seconds ago, whenever it was.
About 10 seconds for me.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were doing that. I
Really?
mean, sure, if you want to get some decent actors in there in the completely wrong roles, go for it. I think that's great. You got to have Handsome Jack not being in there. I get it. He's a strong white alpha male, and he'll probably steal the show. We can't have that in modern.
They got
in
Jack
modern
in there.
film.
He's just not handsome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll be average Joe. Average Joe.
He's
Handsome
playing
Jack
a
is
robot.
going
He
to
won't
average
actually be in the movie.
That sucks.
I mean, there is plenty of storyline within the realms, within the graphic novels and the Telltale games and everything. So they do have a lot to to go on. But if you're saying that they're going to be deviating from that completely, then why even call it Borderlands? Like if it's just going to be a fun, sci-fi, just call it something else. Do a different script.
Something fun that they could do to pay homage to it is they could have given it a creative name and then just semicolon Borderland, as if that was just a subtitle of the movie to kind of give it its respect. Like hey, this is where we got the general idea from. Be like, hey, Pandora the World, Borderland, or something goofy like that. But it's at least it's like, not so the fans, because honestly, that's what if the fans.
The Book of Saw.
I mean, give or take.
I mean, Vault Hunters or something. I mean, there's a million things you could do. Call it the search for the giant squid vagina monster. I mean, because I'm sure that'll probably be in it.
Sign me up. I'm definitely looking for that.
Let's be real.
Medea looks like he's looking at squid monsters right now.
I'm trying to figure out. Like, I've never played Borderlands, so a lot of what you're saying is like, is this real or are they just fucking with me?
No. Everything I'm saying is within real world continuity. So,
ridiculous.
all I know
about Borderlands is that Handsome Jack is in it, and he's got like some kind of mask on his face or something, and the character design is a little bit.
He kind of looked like Humongous from Mad Max 2.
Yeah, so like if they don't have Handsome, like I've never played the games, but if Handsome Jack is not in it, I mean, he's the only one I know. Like all these other names that you were bringing out, I was like, sure, yeah, that's probably a character in it, but like,
and so
which Malcolm confirmed.
Yeah. So my thing with it is, part of me wonders if their approach to this is going to be like if they're planning for a sequel as well. I wonder if they're going to pull different elements at different times. I'm very curious to see how this turns out, because the person that's writing it, Craig Mazin, is currently working on 2 different video game adaptations, because he's also the showrunner and head writer of The Last of Us at HBO. He's working on 2. He's working on 2 big video game productions right now. So it does make me wonder, because the thing with Borderlands is there is a story there, and from what I remember, because I didn't play them all that deeply, it wasn't that big a story to kind of ride a film on. I think you do have to make some additions to it, but from what we've seen in the past, and maybe it's just because I don't have as much of an attachment to it that I feel this way. I would rather see them attempt to do something different that is reminiscent of or emulates the game, rather than try and copy the game exactly. Like, if it's a different type of story, but you nail the characters, I think that's more important than copying a story over. Now, as to if they'll nail the characters, I don't know. Like, the one thing I can say is that the one everyone got scared about was Kevin Hart as Roland, because from what I can remember, Roland in the game is the most serious of the main bunch, and they've straight up said, Kevin Hart. Well, they said Kevin Hart accepted this role, and this is something he's been public about. Kevin Hart wants to make steps towards dramatic acting. He wants to stop doing just comedy. So this is one of the reasons he accepted that role, is because it wasn't a comedic role.
So I'll give him credit, because I watched I think it's almost a year ago at this point. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was just talking about his life. And Kevin Hart, when he's not being a comedian and he's not being goofy, he's a real smart guy, and he's really like down to earth and humble in terms of just like who he is as a person. And he's really, honed in on that. And I respect that a lot. Like, I learned a lot just watching that interview. So I believe that he has it in him. And I think honestly, he got so caught up in the stigma of who Kevin Hart is as a comedian that once he goes away from it, honestly, that's what Chris Rock was trying to do with Spiral. We kind of hinted at that just a little bit, talking about, the name, but like, that's what Chris Rock's trying to do. And that's what Adam Sandler did and Jim Carrey's done. Like, it's possible to do that, but you have to 100% focus on that. Like, you can't do like half-ass, here and there until you establish yourself as both a comedic and dramatic actor, like Robin Williams eventually did, or like I can't think of another actor like Tom Hanks did. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to fully go dramatic, and then you're able to balance it out. So if he's able to do that, and if he's like 100% committed to it, then I think, maybe that's something that can work. But in like Chris was saying, in a video game movie, I don't know if that's the first one you think, tonally will work, because just generally speaking, video game movies are not goofy per se, but they have a more fun, tone to them. Other than what maybe Assassin's Creed would be the only one that you can 100% in Mortal Kombat. Those are the only two. What I'm saying, like 100% when you go in, you're like, hey, serious. Whereas everything else, you can have fun and joke around. So I don't know. So we'll see.
So part of me thinks maybe one of the reasons he accepted it is because, and again, Chris, you know the games more than I do, clearly, so correct me. Roland is kind of the one thing in the game that he's like they always talk about, like, in comedies, you need the one character playing it straight. Roland is that character in the game. So part of me wonders if that is what Kevin Hart is going for. He wants to be the one thing playing it straight in a goofy world with all these colors and crazy guns and Jack Black robot. And, he wants to be the straight man, or is attempting to be that straight man in this world to kind of push himself a little more. Again, I get what you're saying. I say push yourself in a video game film, and that sounds real weird. Because the last time we tried that, I think, was Assassin's Creed, and that turned out awful. So,
do you think it's possible that he was approached with a comedic role before anything else got cast? He did some research or just knew the game and then found the Roland character, and he's like, no, if I'm going to be in this, I want to be that one. Do you think that's something that kind of just happened that way, or do you think he was like, hey, all along I want to be this character?
I feel like he's probably
as far as I'm aware, Roland's the only black character in the first game, so that might also just solve it. And that's just me being a realist. Again, Chris and Grant, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Roland is a,
I mean, racism aside, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
so I mean, for it to be Kevin Hart though, so either he had to 100% approach them like, hey, I want to do this character, or they had to approach him and offer him the character, which is out of that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just
he's also curious that build in the game, so it doesn't kind of work.
He's also what?
He's also like Batista's build in the game, so it kind of doesn't work.
That's interesting. We'll definitely see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, guys, I've got to take off. Thanks for having me on I'm getting heat warnings on my bloody phone again. So,
all right, man.
Yeah,
next time we'll get started more on time. I promise you.
It's all good. Everyone have fun, and Henry, stay uncancelled.
I'll try.
Won't last.
Bye, Walter White.
All right. Let me tee him up with it.
Ask my ex-girlfriends. It never lasts.
I think my biggest problem it's not Eli Roth. I don't think he would fit within the Borderlands stuff.
Yeah, that was the other thing. He's gotten better with his directing in terms of just not being like too weird. Whatever you think of Death Wish, in terms of tone, it had a set tone and it wasn't weird. It just, you like the story, you don't. And then The House with the Clock in its Walls, it had its weird moments because that's just what the story was. But tonally speaking, it was pretty like straightforward, like, you know what I mean. And it was a solid, respectable tone. So he's getting better in terms of tone, which is honestly the only real critique for his movies. So that's a good point. I'm curious to see how they'll go with it, because this sounds like it could get weird. So he might get tempted to go back into his weird stuff. So I don't know.
But it won't be like hostile weird. It won't be hostile weird.
Hostile is going to be weird regardless.
But. No,
I think
weird.
I think it's
Green
just
Inferno.
as a creative, he wants to step away and do other things that aren't horror. Like even what was it? I remember he was attached to do the Meg, the first one that came out. And I believe if I remember correctly, one of the reasons he stepped away from it was because, at least when he was there, it seemed like every idea that a studio creative was trying to push at him was pushing it more towards a horror side, because he was a horror director, and it's just like, I don't want to do that all the time. I want to try other things.
Yeah, producers definitely try and put creators in a box, and that's just so unfair. But then it also sometimes works, because when people try to get out of their comfort zone, they fuck it up. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting dynamic. So go ahead and we'll move on, and we'll introduce kind of a different topic. Is we had a slew of trailers that came out over the last week that will I'll kind of bring some of them up, and then the crew can just kind of go on whatever they want. But we got trailers. The biggest one obviously would be for Venom or be Carnage, which sees Andy Serkis take the director's chair over from Ruben Fleischer, and sees Tom Hardy return in the role of Venom. He will be joined by Woody Harrelson, Naomi Harris, and the returning Michelle Williams, among others. You good down there?
I was trying to show my Venom, but I just couldn't get the good angle.
among others. Venom 2 is set to release this June, hopefully without an Eminem song attached to it. The
And
next
September.
trailer,
Knock, knock like the
September
devil.
now. Yes, you're right. September 28th, I believe. The next trailer was the Forever Purge. This is the 5th, and according to the director and the producers, the final sequel in the Purge franchise. Apparently, they actually wrote this to end the franchise.
So how did they not call it the final Purge then? I just don't understand. They definitely missed that opportunity. The Forever Purge, that mean it's going to last forever? I don't. We'll talk about that, I guess.
Well, the trailer pitches the concept in which a group of anarchists, set a year after the third film, The Purge election year, a group of anarchists attempt to push the concept of the Forever Purge, in which the world never descends back into a properly governed body and is instead just an anarchist society with constant purging. And it pits our kind of group of heroes, which, based on the trailer, it seems like maybe these are more normally well-to-do people who are now stuck in a environment where they will have to fight for their lives. The third trailer we have on the docket is the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. This is the sequel to the original film, which will see Ryan Reynolds and Sam Jackson return as I believe Sam Jackson's character is named Douglas Kincaid. I forget Ryan Reynolds' character. Darius Kincaid. Thank you. I forget Reynolds' character's name, even though they said it in the trailer. And this film will see the two of them reunite while teaming up more directly with Salma Hayek. The film also stars Antonio Banderas and Morgan Freeman. The fourth trailer we have this week is for David Lowery's new film, The Green Knight. This film will see Dev Patel take on the role of Sir, I believe it's pronounced Gawain, who is in Arthurian lore King Arthur's nephew, who takes on battle with the Green Knight. It is based on an Arthurian legend, and co-stars Joel Edgerton, Alicia Vikander, and Sean Harris as King Arthur. The fifth trailer was the film Stillwater, directed by Tom McCarthy of Spotlight fame and starring Matt Damon. It sees Damon go to Marseille, France in an attempt to rescue his daughter, who has been imprisoned and accused of murdering her girlfriend. The film will be released later this year, I believe also during the summer now. It's been moved up to the summer. Thank you. And then the sixth film, I'll throw it in there even though we didn't actually watch it before the show, but it was brought up. So there was The Protege, which, here's a fun fact, as somebody who's constantly checking news and watching release calendars, was supposed to come out yesterday. Instead, it wasn't marketed. It got pushed at the last minute, and now they've released a trailer for it. The film stars Maggie Q taking over the role that Charlize Theron played in Atomic Blonde. It also stars Sam Jackson and Michael Keaton. So with that, we'll go ahead and bring on another panelist. We lost one man from Down Under. We will replace him with another from a different section. Mr. Malcolm Lay joins us on the show. Malcolm, how's it going?
Malcolm.
It's going good.
Awesome, man. And actually, I'll go to you first. So, like I said, I gave a brief rundown of 6 different trailers. Which one or two kind of stood out the most to you out of what you saw?
Well, the one that stood out to me is the only one I saw out of that bunch.
Fair enough.
It's
Malcolm wasn't sent a list to prep for the show, guys. So I'm kind of throwing him under a bus here. Go ahead.
I mean, out of the ones, there was only one that I wanted to watch. The Purge franchise sucks. I wasn't really interested. I was not interested in that at all. I knew at least 3 of those did come out anyway, but the only one I was really interested in was Venom 2. And this looks a lot of fun. The first one, like, either some people love it or hate it, depending on where you are, but it was a fun movie, and Venom 2 looks like it's like the first one. I don't know if it's supposed to have been as funny as it was, but this one, but from this trailer, it looks like they are really going full on into the comedy list, leaning into it, and I'm enjoying it. It's like the scene at the shop was like Venom's like, do you want me to eat that? Eat her? It's like, no, don't eat her. It's like, what'd you say? So just one of those simple moments. And Carnage looks really good. Like the head, I'm really excited about this.
They got rid of that ugly fucking hairpiece from the post-credit scene, thank God.
Oh, thank God.
That thing was
That's
horrendous.
the biggest thing going for this movie.
New hairpiece. Diaz, I'll go to you. Which of these trailers, out of all the ones to select from, which kind of stood out to you the most?
Purge, I don't give a crap. Venom 2, I hope it. I hope it's good. I like Andy Serkis director. I think Woody Harrelson would be a good Carnage. I'm just hoping the comedy and Carnage as a character work out well, because Carnage is a pretty dark character in the comic book. And you try to put him in a comedy universe of Venom, they'd be weirded out. But and Hitman Bodyguard, I liked the first movie a lot. I remember seeing a sneak preview of it like a week before it came out. I loved it, and like it looked funny. I liked the Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds together. The blowjob scene at the end cracked me up a good bit. For the day, I saw a few minutes of it. I didn't know it was. Is there a sequel to Atomic Blonde? Is that what you're saying?
No. I was making a joke that Maggie Q is playing the exact same type of character that Charlize Theron played.
Oh.
It looks like a John Wick spinoff. Like, it just looks like another one of.
Yeah.
Like, funny enough, it's
like nobody kind of like.
I was gonna say it's kind of funny because that movie is directed by Martin Campbell, whose last few films have all been him trying to ape other action franchises to varying successes. Because before this he did The Foreigner with Jackie Chan, which was like a good version of Liam Neeson action movies. Then before that he did The November Man, which was like a bad version of Liam Neeson action films. And then before that he did oh, fuck me. What was it called? Oh, Green Lantern. That was the other one. Green Lantern, which was a bad version of a superhero film. And then before that was Casino Royale. So it's like the dude's just so fucking inconsistent that.
So what you're saying is he has 2 good ones, 2 bad ones, 2 good ones. So this one should be good.
You know, I mean, I
You
love
don't like Casino Royale?
No, you went Casino Royale and then
Green Lantern. So unless you're saying you like Green Lantern.
No, whatever was before Casino Royale was good.
Oh, well, he'd make GoldenEye, but there was stuff in between too.
Yeah,
I was trying.
I mean,
I was trying
GoldenEye's
to
a good
be
film.
positive here.
GoldenEye's a good movie.
I'm gonna say this. I love Maggie Q. Nikita's one of my favorite shows I've watched when it was on TV, and I love her a lot. I hope maybe they break out more into stuff, because I think she's a really good actress. I like Michael Keaton. I like Samuel Jackson. You know, maybe it could be the sleeper hit of the summer. Anything should surprise me at this point, especially the reaction to Cruella this week. So anything should surprise me. So, and what would I still looking forward to a Lost Spotlight. I love it when I love Station Age. I love most of what the director does, and it looked interesting. Having get wrestling look way different than what I used to see and stuff. So we get the film instead. And Matt Damon. Either way, it could be like a Bourne, or it could be like something bad, like Elysium bad. So who knows? It could go either way.
I don't think Elysium was that bad. He's got worse films.
So yeah, this was a bit bad for Thriller. But hey, Red and 2 would be the second movie I see the week it come out, because as a musical fan, the one other thing that came out that we had Evan Hansen, so fuck Venom 2.
All right, Mehdi, I'll go to you next. What out of these trailers stood out to you that you saw?
The Maggie Q Sam Jackson one basically gave away the whole movie, so I was like, fuck it, don't need to go see that one now.
I stopped it pretty much.
Fair enough. It did feel like that.
Like, it really did. Like it was like, oh, we lost someone, and it shows Sam Jackson getting shot. Like, come on, have some air of mystery. If someone goes into this movie saying, "Oh, I saw the trailer and I loved it," and then gets shocked when Sam Jackson dies in it, fuck you, you're an idiot.
Maybe that's a flashback, and then this whole movie is his comeback. You never know. Don't assume.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
Hey,
This
listen,
guy's not smart enough to do that.
Did he have hair in the clip? Because that might have been a flashback.
Who knows? I can never tell if Sam Jackson has hair anymore. Hitman's bodyguards. Hitman's
Hitman's
cousin,
wife's
brother's
bodyguard.
former roommate's bodyguard. I thought it was fun. Like, I liked the first one a lot. The one joke where they're all getting shot by tranquilizers, and then it looks like Salma Hayek is blowing Sam Jackson while Ryan Reynolds is eating her ass. I thought that was really funny. My mom did not notice that joke when it came up on the TV, so I just kind of skipped over it and didn't mention it. But no, I enjoy Ryan Reynolds films since the last few years when he started like just kind of playing himself. It's better than him making Green Lantern again. Sam Jackson, like, I don't know. I like watching him do stuff, and Salma Hayek in this just looks like she's having fun too. So I'm down for that movie. Venom 2, I'm solely in because they replaced Ruben Fleischer. The only other movie of his I've liked was Zombieland, the first one, and then he's got
You didn't like the sequel?
It wasn't for me. Like I definitely preferred the first one. The second one, I was just like, all right, you know what? The Bill Murray sequence is great, but other than that, I wasn't really too much into it.
And I don't like 30 minutes or less, so.
Yeah, that wasn't good either. Like I've given him enough chances, but I just can't dig into his stuff. But the fact that they got Andy Serkis and him as a director just really intrigues me. Like I really liked what he did with Mowgli, even though it wasn't like as big as the Jungle Book movie that came out from Disney. And Breathe, I thought was really well done too. So I don't know, him as a director, like hopefully he gets an Oscar for something he does, whether it's the VFX stuff or the acting that he should have gotten a nomination for years ago. But no, like I'm really excited to see it. And Woody Harrelson looks creepy as hell as a serial killer, so I'm down for that too. Just his face. Yeah, no, I'm like not even as a joke. Like his face was fucking terrifying in this movie.
Woody Harrelson.
He is a natural born killer.
Yeah, exactly. Good pull there. What was the other? Stillwater. Who cares? It looks like
at least he's the one saying that.
You don't have to talk about all of them if you don't want to. You can just.
You know what? I'm gonna say it anyways. Tom McCarthy has made good movies, yes, but they're all so fucking boring. Like they really are. I watched Spotlight and I was like, obviously, like I felt emotional, but I'm not Catholic, so I didn't have to worry about it for myself, did I? Like it was just like
Catholic.
Except for them,
You're not Catholic, Madi? What the fuck?
You don't. Yeah, I'm definitely the most Catholic-looking motherfucker on this panel. What was the other one? I don't even know what the other one was. I lost my train of thought.
Fuck it, Henry, go.
Now that the spotlight's off Madi, yeah. So the trailers. Let's go The Purge. I'll start off with that one. It looked like Mad Max meets The Walking Dead, which if they know what they're like going for, like if they have a plan, like you said, they decide this to be the last one. If they actually just know, like, hey, tonally this is what we're going for, story wise, this is what we're gonna do, it might work. But if they're trying to do too much, which since this is allegedly the last one, hopefully they're not trying to do too much, they're just trying to do enough, then it might work. I'm not saying it's going to be a masterpiece of the next horror classic of the 2021s, which is weird to say, but I do think it could be, just a solid, film, and it could be a good send off on the franchise where the first one was really good, in my opinion. The second one was, whatever. It was a good action flick, but like the rest of it, who really cares? And then the other ones, it's like, whatever. So it could balance out the franchise to not just be a stain in the name. When you think of The Purge, you don't just think of a complete shit show. So we'll see. Stillwater, that it looked fun. Like Madi said, he's not really a action thriller director, so he's either really amping it up and that's going to be risky, or the trailer showed the only action within the movie. Could be one of those where it's like, I really like Patriots Day from Peter Berg, but if you watch the trailer versus the movie, it's not an action movie at all. There's just some action scenes, that are thrilling. So it could be a misdirect like that, which trailers do that. But if you go in expecting an action film, it might throw people off. So if you see negative reactions, that could be why. Venom 2, I want to talk about this one because everyone else got a chance to talk about it, goddamn. And just because the fact that
from Henry.
Yeah, exactly. Shit, canceled. No. So Venom 2, the first time I saw it, I don't know if I wasn't in the right mood or I was just shocked by the fact that opening bit was just so comical and I was nervous about it. But I've watched a bunch of reactions because I just want to see other people's opinions. I was like, man, am I just salty on this, or are people going to shit on it? And then the more I watched it, the more I'm like, oh, this is growing on me. So I don't know if it's a tone growing on me or just the fact I'm like, yeah, I'm a sucker for Venom. Obviously I got the tattoo for a reason. I love the character of Venom. He's just one of my favorite characters in the Spider-Man universe. And the Carnage stuff, it clearly looks like they're deterring from the Carnage origin, but they did that with the Venom in this story. So I guess, that's fine, but they have to do it right. Or otherwise, Cletus Cassidy just won't work. And I know Woody Harrelson can do it. It's just up to the script. And Andy Serkis as a director, he still hasn't proven himself, but he has potential just because of his knowledge and his experience in the universe. And it's weird seeing a mocap character with Andy Serkis involved and it not being Andy Serkis. So I'm just curious, how that's going to go. But we'll see. I have hopes for it, but tonally, I just don't know what it's not R-rated. I guess that's the only true worry I have. I don't know how you can have a Venom Carnage movie and it not be X-rated. So we'll see.
And Michelle Williams back?
I don't know. She was in the trailer for like.
Yes, she is.
Is her wig back? Jesus.
Yeah.
So that was the worst part of Venom.
The movie has 3 returning characters from the first one. Eddie Brock obviously is back. Michelle Williams is back.
That one homeless lady.
Then 4. But I guess I believe his name is Reed Scott, who played her boyfriend. He is also back. The doctor.
Oh, and the store clerk. Back. Obviously, I was joking, but that's the one thing I will say. Malcolm, you said that joke. Yeah. You said that the joke at the convenience store, and I have a theory that at the beginning of the trailer, she's like, "Hi, Venom." You know what I mean? Which I was like, that's weird. Like Venom's just going to be a part of the character. So I'm thinking that the part at the end was that's reversed. So it's like, I think that part happened at the beginning of the movie and like they're mad at her. And then she's seemed confused about, Venom being a thing. So I'm thinking that they flip it. And then towards the end of the movie or the second half, then, they start working together and they start having some fun with it.
Didn't she see Venom eat that dude at the end of the first one? Like when there was like the whole turd in the wind thing?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So the fact that she was like, "Wait, what?" She seemed confused. So I think it could have been one of those things where it was just a reminder at the beginning of the movie, like, "Oh yeah, this is a real thing. I didn't just dream that or something like that. This is just who we are now." So at the end, it's like, "Oh, hi Venom." You know what I mean? You're not gonna eat my head.
I just laughed.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, chocolate.
Go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah, I was about to say, you made the joke about Andy Serkis directing it. Without being in a mocap performance, are we sure that he's not the mocap behind the CGI for Carnage?
Honestly, if he is, we wouldn't even know.
The design looks the exact same, which I don't hate the design of the original, but you just kind of expect something different, especially with Andy Serkis attached. So the fact that they're going with the same exact design is interesting because you brought in Andy Serkis. But I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I have hopes.
Are they using mocap for Venom, or are they just kind of like CGIing it in later?
I can find out. Matt, you want to go?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I can kind of make it quick because I got to use the restroom. But the Purge movie, I mean, looks fun. I enjoy the movies for the most part. Didn't like the third one, but I thought the prequel or whatever was actually somewhat fun, even though it wasn't the greatest movie. And I liked the first 2 a lot. It does look like Mad Max meets The Walking Dead. But, hopefully they do a good job with it. And they say it's going to be the last one. I guarantee it's not the last one. They said that with the third movie. And then they said that with the prequel, saying this is going to be it. And then, now they're saying it with this movie. So I doubt it. We're probably going to get 3 or 4 more because they'll retcon it because who cares? Stillwater looks like it could be good, but it could also be bad. It's one of those movies where, I could see it going either way. I like the director, Tom Hooper, Tom Hooper, right? I like him.
Tom McCarthy.
Oh, McCarthy. Tom Hooper's a different guy. Didn't he do Cats or whatever? So
that movie doesn't exist.
Different guy. So yeah, McCarthy. That's the guy. I think he's a pretty decent director. I thought Christopher Robin was okay. It was a nice little movie, nothing spectacular. And Spotlight, I think, is a great movie. But, I kind of like seeing him do more of the action stuff.
Go watch Win-Win. They're a really great movie.
I'll have to check that out. And then Hitman's Wife, Sisters, Cousins, College Roommates, Bodyguard. Also looks fun. I also like the first one. It seems like it's one of those movies where they're not trying to make it like this masterpiece or anything. They're just saying, screw it. Let's just write a movie. Let's have fun. It looks like it's kind of how Adam Sandler makes his movies, but better, where it's like, hey, let's just all get together. Let's go out. Let's, go to another country. Just have a good time making a movie. I always
put our face in Salma Hayek's ass.
Yes, which
that was
Ryan Reynolds.
As soon as Ryan Reynolds saw that in the script, he's like, "Yeah,
I'm back on."
Look,
I'm actually going to delay Deadpool 3 for that scene alone.
Exactly.
Look, he's married to Blake Lively. He got to do that with Salma Hayek. Yeah, I wish
was
I was
married to
Ryan Reynolds.
Scarlett
I
Johansson
thrive
for a
to
while.
be
He
him.
dated Scarlett Johansson.
And he
That
dated. See,
dude's been winning for a while.
look,
Like,
nobody will have a better life than Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he is a free
Plain
man.
simple. He is absolutely a free man in theaters at some point this year, next year, whatever.
Well,
and
no,
then-
he's
Malcolm,
a
go
free
ahead.
guy in theaters
He's a-
this year.
True, yeah, that one. Free guy, free man. You know, same thing. I know, but and then
Morgan
Pro-
Freeman, who's in the
and then
movie.
yes, Morgan Freeman, who's in Project. No, he's in Hitman's wife's
He's in it,
sister's
yeah.
cousin's college.
We don't know what he's
bodyguard.
doing in it, but he's in
I
it.
don't know, but he's in
College
the movie.
roommates.
Honestly,
The
I really
Hitman's
hope he's playing
bodyguard's
God.
president.
I really hope he's either playing God or the president. Like just
I hope so.
one of those
It's
like
connected to the
ridiculous-
Angel. It's connected to the
tongue-in-cheek
Angel
movies.
franchise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's honestly what I hope he's doing.
I hope he's the actual like hitman in this movie. Like I hope he's the hitman's hitman.
Oh, that'd be fun. But and then the
Does-
Prodigy, you know, looks okay. You know, it looks like it could be a fun time, but it also looks like it'd be a big old pile of shit.
It
All right, man.
Also
Go
has
take
Sam
your pick.
Jackson. True. Has Sam
Give you
Jackson.
permission to go pee.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
can
pee.
All right, I'll wrap
Um,
this. I'll go ahead, Malcolm, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, the last thing I was going to do is going back to Venom very quickly. Read on to the wiki, which isn't truly fact, I know that, but it says that Andy Serkis was chosen because of his experience with CGI and motion capture as both an actor and a director. So there might be some element of motion capture involved, or it's just CGI. But that's why Andy was chosen to direct Venom 2.
So I'm actually gonna follow you up on that because that's actually where I was gonna go first before I get into the trailers. So I believe the first movie, from what I could find, didn't use mocap; they just CG'd it. And one of the things they wanted was directors who could work with action better for the second one, which is why the other major contender was Travis Knight, right, who worked on Bumblebee. So that's why they were kind of up there. Serkis, obviously, he's never been a head director, but a lot of the direction for the mocap stuff on even as far back as Lord of the Rings and Apes, he has a huge part of. So yeah, it makes sense why he was brought in. So what I could find, Sirkin did do mocap work for this film. Not him himself. He directed mocap work for this film, and he worked with both professional stuntmen. But he said in order to, specifically for Carnage, get the unique movement style and sporadic movement style of the character down, he also brought in professionally trained dancers and put them in mocap suits and had them perform on a mocap soundstage in order to kind of get movements that they could track and put into the character.
See, now I'm just kind of intrigued as to what it's going to end up looking like, right?
Yeah,
That's what I was saying. Based on the trailer, it looked stylistically exact like the first one, which I didn't think was mocap at that point. I kind of just was kind of having an assumption thinking that they were going to switch it up. So it's one of those things where, if it would be smart, even if you did mocap like as a practice run, you're like, hey, this is what we want to look like, and then we'll CG it like that, so at least it looks more fluid. Because, like you said, the other thing I wanted to say, that was really one of my only main issues, not nitpicks, but issues with Venom 1 was the fight scenes in the dark, like that one battle scene at the end. It was really dark and muddy, and he's like black colored as it is, and then he was going up against I don't remember
Silver.
Yeah, right. His like red silver, and it was like it's just weird. Like it just didn't stand out. The color, the contrast just didn't pop. Yeah. So I'm hoping Serkis brings that to it, because even though I hated Mowgli, I'm one of the few people that hated it. It was just boring, and I didn't give a shit. Yeah, but it looked good. You know what I mean? It looked weird and different and stood out different than the other Lion King, or the other Jungle Book. But it looked good. You know what I mean? So I think he's capable of making a different. Like I said, it looks exactly like the first one based on the trailer. So I don't know. It's really confusing.
And to be fair, I think a lot of the shots we saw were very static. There wasn't a lot of the movement in Venom we saw was the kind of the tendril movement, like the faint limbs coming out. Yeah. And that is just straight up CG. So that's probably going to look exactly the same. I'm curious as to when we really get to see them moving and fighting, how that's going to look full on in the film. I will also say
the movie's
I'm
done,
glad.
Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, because it was supposed to come out last year?
Well, they actually so apparently one of the reasons it got delayed, and I found this out doing research for another episode. Serkis asked if Sony. So part of it has to do with the pandemic. But another part of it as to why it's like all the way back in September now is because apparently Serkis asked for it to be delayed because he wanted more time to make sure the CG looked even better than it was at that film.
Which is fair. I mean,
So
they
it's something that
got
he's
it in the
focused
can,
on.
and then he's just like doing some fine tweaks and shit like that. That's fine with me. But
That's literally what CG is. If it's a difference of 1% tweak, that it stands out, especially in today's day and age of how good stuff looks. If you even notice it a little bit, it stands out. So I like that approach. Like, that's smart.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
I'll go ahead.
yeah, with Serkis doing it too, he's probably the one guy I would be like, yeah, he's the guy who should be in charge of this shit. I mean, last 20 years, everything that's been like good CGI has been like involved with him. So
Yeah, him and Guetta, who he's worked a lot with, are like probably two of the best at it. So yeah. Well, I'm gonna run through the trailers quickly just so we can move on. Just kind of give my brief thoughts on it, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. All right, let me remember the order here. So Venom, I actually wasn't a huge fan of the first Venom. I think it's fine. I was also glad when they decided to switch up directors because I thought the direction was part of the problem. I also think that movie had huge tonal issues with the script. I think at times it focused too much on trying to be dark while also trying to be funny. But it just, the tones didn't click. Like, I'm sorry, I can't take, like, if you want me to take Venom seriously, don't have Venom call him a pussy in that, like, gruff Venom voice. Like, it just, something about it didn't work for me. With this, it seems like they're abandoning any attempt at, like, solidified realism. It looks like they're just kind of leaning into the fun of it. That first scene in the kitchen really did throw me off. I was like, wow, that's really, really weird. But by the time we got to the gas station, it felt like it settled much more into the tone. Maybe it's just a case of that scene may not quite work, but everything else in the trailer worked. Woody looks way better. I did not like when he showed up in the first film. I thought he was overacting. I thought the wig looked fucking ridiculous. Everything looks more tuned in here and dialed in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it says a lot that the first film had 3 screenwriters and this film has 1 screenwriter, one of the 3 who worked on the first. So I think that says a lot about there was conflicting vision with that film clearly, and whatever vision they're going with must have been this person's directly. So I'm very curious to see how that works out. The Forever Purge, my only big intrigue with the Forever Purge is one of its lead actors is Tenoch Huerta, who is as of now the only brand new leading cast member of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I believe he was cast as the main villain. So just because he's somebody who really hasn't had a big project, I believe he was a part of the cast in Narcos, but other than that, he really hasn't had anything big come out. I think if he's good in this, that'll be a good showcase for his talent to kind of sell people on how he ended up in Black Panther 2. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. The first one was dumb fun. I mean, it Sam Jackson and Ryan Reynolds being Sam Jackson and Ryan Reynolds. This one is Sam Jackson and Ryan Reynolds and Salma Hayek being Sam Jackson, Ryan Reynolds, and Salma Hayek. I mean, it's really, it kind of sells itself. If you like the personalities, you're going to like the film. What I do like, though, is, and I can't remember if this one was filmed before or after, but I like that this director is taking the approach of, right now, at least all of my films are just going to be taking 2 people, partnering them together and seeing how the chemistry works. Because the other film he currently has in production is another action comedy in the vein of The Hitman's Bodyguard, but it's Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson, which is another, like, that's just 2 personalities kind of coming together and seeing how that works out.
That could be really good or real shit.
Really bad, right? Yeah. That's going one way or the other, and I can't quite tell, but it'll be interesting. Well, Right Along was made by Tim Story. That was part of the problem there. What was the other ones? Stillwater, sure. Again, I like Tom McCarthy as a filmmaker. This movie definitely looks like it's doing the thing where they're trying to market something that's clearly a drama, like it's an action film. Like, I don't even think if you look it up, there's no indication that this is an action film, but they try and, like, which I get building suspense for, like, suspense dramas, but don't make it look like someone's gonna fucking die in every other scene. You know what I mean? There's a level to which you can balance that, and I think the trailer is a little off. I actually agree with you. I think both, Henry, your point, I think both his films that year, and I love both of them, but both Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day were marketed like they were going to turn into action films halfway through. And I love both of them. Deepwater is my second favorite film of that year, but they're so weirdly marketed that I get why they didn't make money. And then what was the other one? The Protege is probably fucking shit. I'm just being real with you. Just based on the fact that it was supposed to come out yesterday and they bumped it to whenever and only just put a trailer out now, that tells me they don't fucking care. Like, they're just figuring out when they'll try and make the most money. The best I'm expecting from it, and I only use it as a reference because Michael Keaton was in it, but does anyone remember American Assassin with Dylan
I just
O'Brien?
watched that like last week.
I have it on my voodoo. I need to eventually watch it.
That
You don't
movie to
need
me,
to.
that
You
movie
really
to me
don't.
is fine. Like, it's not terrible, but it's okay. It's an average action film. That's the best I expect from this. And then what was the last one? The Green Knight. I really like that trailer.
Oh,
I
fuck
really
yeah, me too.
Green Knight. Shit, I forgot about that
Yeah,
one.
the
Oh,
Green
we
Knight.
forgot to talk about that.
I was talking with Henry before we started the show. I'm a huge fan of the last two films that David Lowery's done. I know A Ghost Story
Yeah.
isn't for everyone because it's so fucking weird, but I like it. I thought Pete's Dragon's probably, if not the best, like the second best. Maybe The Jungle Book's a bit better in my opinion, but it's very close to being the best remake that Disney's done. And I really like The Old Man and the Gun. It's like just a really nice, sweet send-off film to Robert Redford. I thought Casey Affleck was great in it. I think is John Washington in that one too? John David Washington, right?
Maybe.
Green Knight. Wait, which one?
In Old Man and the Gun. I think wasn't he the black detective in that?
Oh, hang on, let me.
Hold on to tell you right.
Someone can fact check it. But yeah, I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Kelly.
I still got it. No, so I
Toby
think
trivia.
I think The Green Knight could be really good. I like what David Lowery's doing. I like that it is taking on a unique twist on this Arthurian type of film. I think when these movies are done well, they can be really good, and I do like unique takes on them. The most recent one I could think of was The Kid Who Would Be King, the Joe Wright film. I really like that because it's a unique spin on Arthurian legend. And it's got a cool cast. Like, it's a small cast, but I like it. Sean Harris is a great actor. I like him for King Arthur. Dev Patel, Alicia Vikander. And there was one more name, Joel Edgerton, who was great a couple years ago in The King, and a very similar type of film. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. If anybody else wants to comment on it before we move on, that was the one everyone. Oh shit!
Well,
Go ahead, Mo.
I wasn't going to say anything with Green Knight. I haven't seen that trailer, but the last thing I was actually going to say is the Protege scheduled to come out on August the 20th this year. I couldn't find anything about it being moved, but it is dated for August 20th, and I think it's a case of this year. I think the reason we are seeing a lot of trailers, a lot of movies only starting their production sort of not close to when it's coming out is because I think it's a case of they're not sure if it's going to be moved again, so no point in starting promotion, because they thought it happened last year. If the promotion of so many movies like a year, like half a year in advance, then it's like
Black Widow.
oh, we're going to have to re-promote them later because of COVID. So I think it's a case of with this year, I think they're just being really selective about when they bring out the trailers because no one really knows if it's going to be moved again. I mean, at this point, it shouldn't. So I think it's fair to. I think it might also be a VOD one. I don't know too much about what ones you guys are putting on VOD at the same time, but it's one of those movies I don't think will be like it's going to come out in the theaters regardless. But yeah.
It's Lionsgate, so they may do VOD because they usually have a heavy VOD presence as a studio.
Yeah.
It may go to Netflix. You never know. Netflix buying everything. Yeah, I mean,
So did anybody else want to comment on Green Knight before we move on?
I do.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Look good. I like David. I like the director. I like Old Man and the Gun. I haven't seen Ghost Story, but I do love Old Man and the Gun. And it looked good. Looked weird. But hey, anything better than the Lightning Austin movie we got with by Guy Ritchie with pizza garbage on garbage.
Oh, come on. That movie was fucking stupid, but it was fun. Madi, go next.
That was probably my favorite trailer out of all of them, and I can't believe I forgot about it as we were talking.
There were 6 trailers. So.
There were 6 of them. Yeah, forgive me. Whatever.
I'm not a good test taker.
Who cares? Yeah. But no, that one was the one that like got me the most excited because we've been kind of hearing about the Green Knight for a while. Like, yeah, it's coming. Here are some images. They had that weird teaser trailer that like showed basically nothing.
Yeah.
And like I was intrigued, but it was always like, all right, yeah, well, whenever it comes out, I'll see if I go see it. This one, like for me, instantly, I'm like, yeah, I want to go see this. Like me and my girlfriend watched it, and it was like immediately like, yeah, this looks great. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Like compared to another trailer that we talked about, like it doesn't show much of the story, but it's still like holding your interest enough that you're like, I kind of want to know how this goes. And the cast, yeah, it's fucking great. Dev Patel's been great in just about everything he's done. Alicia Vikander is an Academy Award-winning actress who should have won for Ex Machina, but they got nominated for something else. Joel Edgerton's been great in a lot of the stuff he's done. Like it just there's nothing about this movie that makes me me cautious. It's just everything that's going on with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
That was it. So the other one, I just looked at the cast list. The other one was Barry Keoghan, who was in Dunkirk and Killing the Sacred Deer. For like 1 second, he's in the trailer, but again, like another solid actor.
Yeah, I mean, this movie looks like it could be like one of those fantasy movies that everyone, a kind of fantasy. I mean, it's a talking tree and a talking fox. Like it's a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
But like it looks like one of those fantasy movies that are really going to be holding up because we haven't really had a lot of those be good recently. Like I can't think of a recent fantasy movie that I've like really enjoyed, and this one looks like it might be the best one in a long time.
Yeah,
it's
Go ahead, Henry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's one of those ones. Based on the trailer, I don't know for sure if it's going to have a cult aspect to it. But I'm a sucker for movies with like dark cults and like horror films specifically. So I'm hoping it does at least go in that vein a little bit, and it has that creepy tone. It has the aspects of like if I watched this trailer, I would have assumed Ari Aster made this movie. You know what I mean? So it has that vibe. Yeah. So I don't know if the trailer did that specifically or if that's just the entire tone of the movie. So I'm hoping it is because, you know, everyone knows me. I know, you know, I love both Ari Aster movies. So the fact that I had that feel when I watched it, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm all down for that. And then Dev Patel, when I was actually interested, when I looked it up, I was like, let me see what he's been doing recently. Cause I'm curious, is this something, cause I know that this has been like, you know, the stuff behind the scenes stuff. I know it's been out for a while or whatever. So I'm curious. I'm like, has he just been working on this for so long or has he been doing other stuff? And he's been doing a little bit, but the fact that, you know, he's leading a movie that I wouldn't call it a big movie because I mean, other than like nerds like us, no one really is going to know about this movie. People are going to be at the thing like Green Knight. What's that? You know what I mean? They're going to think it's, you know, the Last Night Transformers movie again or something, you know, goofy like that. So I'm hoping that, you know, that he really, you know, shines and they're like, oh no, the Slumdog Millionaire guy, like that's awesome. You know what I mean? Or they're like, oh no, who cares? And, you know, it's going to be one. I hope it just goes against type and it really, you know, stands out. So I like that trailer and I'm hoping tonally it matches the trailer because it's one of the few where I'm like, I kind of need it to be like this because based on the weirdness and the horror that it's hopefully going to have that because I just looked at the IMDb, horror is the third genre. So I don't know if it's going to be like hardcore horror. So I'm hoping the cult aspect, if it has a cult aspect, that's like the horror and that'll be good enough for me. So we'll see. Just like everything, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I can appreciate is we've had so many Arthurian movies. I like this is a story that we're not really exposed to. You know what I mean? Like, you can watch a King Arthur film, like, I mean, take any of them over the last few years, and a lot of them are following the same kind of general plot lines, or they're including pieces of it that we all know. Whereas I like this is taking a completely different approach and taking a story that still falls in Arthurian times. You know, Dev Patel's character is King Arthur's nephew, so it's still within that family, but it's just something we don't recognize, which I think is a really cool twist on it. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next segment, which is, what do I want to do next? So here's what I'll do. So Zack Snyder this week was doing an interview. Obviously, they are doing press for Army of the Dead, which is currently in a limited release in certain theaters and will release wide on Netflix next week. And of course, as you would anticipate, Snyder was asked questions about the Justice League. And basically, throughout multiple interviews this week, Snyder seemed to indicate that Warner Brothers has no plans and has not contacted him with any plans to continue Snyderverse. He used the direct quote at one point. They were anti-Snyderverse. That is a direct quote from him. And basically, it was a way of kind of saying that there are no plans to continue it. But he never explicitly said, like, oh, my fans shouldn't continue campaigning. Like, he's still kind of endorsing the idea of campaigning for it, but he's saying there's no updates. Warner does not want to make a sequel to this. He also was asked about the idea of Superman being rebooted under J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates as a potential Black Superman, which is a story that we talked about last week. And he said, you know, I know JJ, I'm friends with JJ, I have praise for JJ, I wish him the best of luck with this project. But he did mention that he does think it would be sucky for them not to do anything with Henry Cavill after kind of having him on a string for so long, to just kind of drop that whole thing and move on to another reboot, essentially. So with that, I think it's a worthy discussion, and I'll let you guys go first because I did some prep research for this that I have to just pull up where I typed it. So I'll let one of you guys go first, but kind of the discussion I think that's worth having for the next, you know, little bit is it really feasible to continue the Snyderverse? Now, what I'm going to look to pull up, because I put it in a doc and I forgot where I saved it, was one of the things that Warner has actually cited is statistics, just straight up numbers as to why they don't want to continue the Snyderverse. It has to do with like box office totals and budgets and stuff like that. But if one of you guys, whoever wants to pick it up first and go ahead, should DC continue the Snyderverse is essentially the question. Is it worth it for them to continue the Snyderverse?
I'm kind of just hoping that DC goes away from Warner Brothers, honestly, because they haven't really done anything positive. Like, I really liked Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, especially compared to the other version that we got. I really liked the extended cut of Batman vs Superman. I thought Man of Steel was great. And like that's kind of thing with Zack Snyder. Like, if you just let him do his thing and not worry about budget, he can make a fucking great movie, or a really enjoyable movie at the very least. But you know, Warner Brothers has kind of gotten a lot of bad shit coming at them right now. Like, they've done a lot of weird shit. And this Black Superman thing, does anyone else find it weird that they announced that like after the whole like Ray Fisher thing? It's like, oh, we're just gonna do a Black Superman, and then everyone was like, weren't you just treating an actual black actor like shit, and then like kind of sweeping it under the rug, like,
and pretty much on Henry Cavill's birthday to slap him in the face. They're like, "Happy birthday!"
Like that was another thing. I was like, man, okay, first of all, Henry Cavill's a great Superman. Just give him another movie and make it good. Like, give him something that's worth his time. And if you're gonna do a Black Superman, do it, but don't like. There was so much that was like just suspicious about the way that they handled that. That I was like, man, fuck, these guys are just like shit in the bed over and over again.
You know what? So I don't think
they should talking into your lamp, Henry.
No, this is not mine. So I don't know. I don't think that they should continue the Snyderverse. What I do think Snyder should do is be a smartass and make Brightburn like movies and kind of like diss Warner Brothers and the DC characters and just create his own shit and kind of just, you know, have that vein and be like, hey, look, it's Looper Man, you know what I mean? Like, just fucking spit in their face and be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, this completely original character that I created by my own guys with a different studio, you know what I mean? So, like, obviously, if they actually did it, I do think it technically could work, like what Middy's saying, as long as you give him the rights, because, or like the free reign, or at least, you know, the biggest percentage, because Justice League, like, there was, I think, only really one scene that wasn't in the Snyder Cut that I liked a lot, and that was the Aquaman like venting scene when he's on the truth lasso. Like, I actually really like that scene. And I've seen a lot of people like poop on that scene, and that's kind of confusing me because that scene just has a lot of vulnerability for Aquaman. Plus, it's just a good speech and it's funny. Like, it just kind of encapsulates, like, you know, a bunch of tones. But everything else in Justice League that's not in the Snyder Cut, so like any added stuff, is just unnecessary, or it's just who cares, or it's stupid. Like, the ending is poop.
So I'm not the biggest fan of Zack Snyder. A lot of people know this. A lot of people know I hate Watchmen, and I'm mediocre on Dawn of the Dead, and I do love BVS, which is ironic, and I'm mediocre on Man of Steel, and up until now I didn't like Justice League. So like I'm hit or miss with Zack Snyder, but I do respect the fact that he's willing to do his own thing. So I recommend him like completely start over and make his own universe, or if they did give him a chance, then I do think it would be profitable for them because obviously he's got a cult following. And if you have a big enough cult following, you're going to make enough money, especially with prices nowadays. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why Warner Brothers has to be so greedy and so like egotistical. And I don't know like why they have to prove that their dicks aren't as small as they really are, because clearly they're overcompensating for something with how they're like trying to like handle everything behind the scenes. But yeah, Warner Brothers is oof.
Now, if he makes his own universe, he has to get Henry Cavill to be in it.
Yeah, Henry Cavill as Looperman. How do you not? Like, that
you gotta get him in there.
Go.
I feel like the other thing, like all of the actors who are in the Justice League, all really like Zack Snyder. Like he's kind of like one of those like actors, directors, or something. Like he just kind of like gets along with the cast, and like they all love working for him.
True.
Like
say what you want about his movies, but yeah, as a someone to work with, I can agree with that.
I can guarantee you, if he does, he's not gonna do it. But if he does do like his own universe sort of thing, he's gonna have like Ben Affleck come back as Catman or something.
Yeah,
and then like all these other people are gonna come back for it. Even like talking about Dave Bautista again, he was talking about Zack Snyder. It's like, yeah, I want to work with him again. I want him to do like a Gears of War movie with me. Like he has that effect on so many people that he works with that I can't imagine that people are like, let's not have him like work with us again. Like it's a dumb move to like try and get rid of him when people actually like working for him.
Right. Unfortunately, Ben Affleck's going to be in that universe, but he's going to be Fat Man because he's made it clear that he does not want to work out. So
yeah, I'll give you that.
Fat Man and Looper Man.
But I mean, to bounce off of what Mehdi said earlier about DC going away from Warner Brothers, I don't think that will ever happen because I think it's no, I don't think it's so much ego. I think it's more just the money that DC are getting from Warner Brothers is good enough. I think unless someone really steps up and goes and tries to buy DC, goes, I can make you a better offer and all that.
See, the crazy thing about DC is they're so dark that they could pull off like indie level like budgets, and they just refuse to do it. And every time they go big budget, it just doesn't work. It's literally the big budget aspect of DC that doesn't work. Like that's why the Dark Knight franchise, Nolan's franchise, was so good, is because it was grounded. Regardless of what you think of Batman Begins, the ending, and what you think of Dark Knight Rises as a whole, you can admit that generally speaking, the world is grounded. Like you just have Gotham, whereas the DCEU is trying its best to like make it a world issue, you know what I mean? Like Suicide Squad with the beam in the sky, Man of Steel with the fight, the entire city when they're bringing, destroying this city, like not just destroying a couple buildings, but the city. And then BVS, how they have Doomsday, you know what I mean? They're trying its best to like make it so big. Whereas if, you use these characters and, have them indie level and small scale, it would be fantastic. And I don't know why they don't.
That's why I'm kind of excited for the Batman movie, because it doesn't look like very like out there. It looks like it's set in like a real world sort of thing. And the Joker was like that too. Like the lower budget movies.
Exactly. Indie. They feel indie you know what I mean?
Yeah, they feel kind of indie. Like there are some exceptions, sure. Like I like Shazam. I thought that was great, but like there's like other like small, like they do better with less, but they do really good with less budget.
Even Wonder Woman, like when you actually go to the third act, that's when it gets, a mess. But Act 2, like everyone praises No Man's Land scene, but that's small scale. I mean, if it didn't have No Man's Land and World War I connected to it, you don't even think of it as just a small battle in a field, you know what I mean? And that's fantastic. And the battle, the stuff on Ministera at the very beginning, like, it's in a whole island, but it just feels so compact and small scale. So they have elements where they can even Shazam, you know what I mean? Like the goofy stuff that people, make fun of it is the stuff where they're trying to be outlandish with the big scale, but the smaller scale stuff, the actual character moments, it's there.
Yeah.
True. I mean, DC doesn't know what they're doing, I feel like, at this point. Last Superman, they don't know what direction they want to go. Do we have something better? Should we keep it? It's getting ridiculous up to the point where I'm losing love for it. Because I am looking forward to this Suicide Squad. I am looking forward to Batman, but it's just like not exciting anymore because there's no direction. Like MCU have a clear direction where they're going. DCU, no direction at the moment. Like,
I don't know. Apple should just buy DC. They have the money.
Honestly, I'd be down with that because Apple has made some pretty good shit. Like it's a young service in terms of like their streaming stuff, but
like, hell, I'm more looking for the DC TV show half the time than I am the DC movie at the moment. Like,
yeah, I mean they have, or even HBO. Like I don't know if HBO is technically owned by Warner or how that fucking thing works, but
I think it's owned by Warner Media.
Okay, well, I mean, like Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League was not through Warner Brothers, it was through HBO, right? So
yes,
if there was like a way that they could kind of, I don't know, go under the table to HBO, however this fucking business shit works, like that would work better because then more people could actually get something they enjoy. Most likely, I mean, with Warner Brothers running it, it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. But when it's like something smaller, they do really well. So
there's always risk, but I feel like with this type of stuff, they should just focus on the character stories because a lot of people praise DC over Marvel and they say, hey, we like DC characters better, but we like Marvel stories better. So focus on your characters and let the story surround them, and it should work.
So the document I had didn't save completely, so I had to redo some of the numbers. So this to me right here, when the Warner Brothers statement that I read talked about numbers, like basically saying it was a mathematics thing as to why they're not continuing it. I actually went and figured out the numbers myself. Okay. So now I should say I'm using estimates. Every film in Hollywood proportionally is treated differently, but the estimates that I've heard are usually the rounded out most accurate is a marketing budget for a film is usually 50% of its production budget. So add 50% on, and theater takeout from big budget films is usually about 33%. Again, that varies depending on the contract, but I'm working general averages here. Okay. So counting marketing and taking out theater cut, the Snyderverse films, which consist of, I put Man of Steel, BVS, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and Justice League, because they all count as Snyderverse films. And this is Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League, because they are being treated by Warner as one production budget. It's just a continuation of that budget. They've spent $1.754 billion on production and marketing, roughly. Again, I'm estimating here. Their box office for those films was $2.526 billion, which means overall, over the course of five films, they saw a profit of $773 million. Now, again, I'm not a Warner Brothers exec. I'm just estimating based off margins. For the 5 films that have come out since they've separated themselves from the Snyderverse, which would be Aquaman, Shazam, Joker, Birds of Prey, and Wonder Woman 84. And this is taking into account that Wonder Woman 84 came out during the pandemic and Birds of Prey was in theaters during the start of the pandemic. They have spent $972 billion on their films, so their production and marketing has gone massively down. They have made $1.98 billion, but that actually adds up to be a $1.009 billion profit. So they have actually made more on their films since Snyder has stepped away from the universe. And I know a lot of people would want to count Aquaman as a part of Snyderverse, but that movie went through rewrites after Snyder stepped away in order to adjust the tone while they were doing production. So I don't count it.
It connects to the end of this, Justice League. Zack Snyder's.
Does, but tonally they were going for something totally different. I don't think
I get what you're saying in terms of the split.
Right.
Right.
So if we're doing 5 films versus 5 films, there's that. Also, it should be said, and unfortunately, I can't guess numbers for this, and Warner doesn't make their numbers public, but all inside sources that track streaming service numbers have said that all things considered, Zack Snyder's Justice League to DC was considered a failure in their eyes. They were treating it like it was a theatrical level film in terms of views they were looking for, while it did outclass a lot of the original service content like Unplanned, the abortion film, or the recent Doug Liman film Locked Up. It outclassed those films in terms of views compared to their theatrical releases, which they were rating it in line against. It was outperformed this year by Godzilla vs. Kong, Judas and the Black Messiah. I believe Tom and Jerry outperformed it, and Mortal Kombat either came close or did outperform it as well. And they were looking at Zack Snyder's Justice League to be one of the big things that spiked sales in terms of adding numbers to it. And though, again, not exact numbers, but coming from people who do kind of source check this and try and come up with rough estimates, apparently more people signed up for the service in the week leading up to Godzilla vs. Kong than they did leading up to Zack Snyder's Justice League. So on all fronts, they've been making more money, and this film didn't do what it wanted it to do for the streaming service. At that point, I mean, sure, they probably have issues with Snyder, and it is personal to some extent, but I think it's just business. It makes sense to not do it.
So
say,
isn't the Zack Snyder's Justice League the highest viewed superhero movie streaming wise now officially after this weekend? Because it was released on China's streaming service, whatever. It was like 400.
I was going to say, like, internationally, we don't have HBO like now in Canada. I think it's just in America actually. So me and Malcolm are in. Like,
HBO Max is just in America, yes.
Yeah. So I had to watch it through a different streaming service that it was available on.
Same.
And Malcolm, I'm sure you had the same thing. So we didn't have to sign up for anything new. Like, it was just on whatever service we already had, or I already had access to mine from a few years ago. But
right.
That's kind of something that happened. And the Chinese one, it's been like #1 there for a couple of weeks as well, because they've just been really enjoying it. So if you're just talking about in America only, yeah, it wasn't as popular. But from the looks of it, they're not taking into account the international audiences, because for me, I've had my it came out on Crave, and Crave has been around for like 4 or 5 years now, and like we just happen to have that movie come on. We haven't had like Godzilla vs. Kong and like the other movies that you mentioned come on to that one. This one specifically came on to that one because it was like a huge international thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Godzilla vs. Kong, we'll go to theaters or find it on some random backwater Putlocker website.
Yeah.
But
so it should be said, obviously, for the box office numbers, I can only talk. I do talk about international. That's not domestic numbers. That is international profit spending, all that. In terms of streaming numbers, they are currently only looking at the U.S. because that is where it is. But from what I've been able to gather, and again, this may be unfairly judging it, what they were looking at is it was meant to be a platform seller to the U.S. And while they have seen increases in signups, this wasn't the movie that did it. And so that's kind of what they're looking at. Obviously, VOD domestic sales do matter. It's just a question of how much are they equating to it.
And that's bogus, because that's Justice League Snyder Cut is literally the definition of a cult movie, because the initial story to the average person's eye, it's already came out. So people who aren't in the cult aren't excited to re-watch it, essentially, especially a 4-hour version.
It is functionally the same film. I know it's not the same film, but if you were to functionally lay out the story beats of both those movies,
it's just
they are essentially the same film.
10 times better than the other one.
Different tones. One is of a better quality. The stuff that was cut out was put back in. Snyder shot shit in his driveway. Like, it's a whole nother thing.
Hilarious.
Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah. And I mean, what I was about to finish off saying earlier is this is one of those ones that there was a lot of people that was against this in the first place. So there might have been a lot of people that we're not signing up for another streaming service just to watch this movie. Exactly. So the question is, I've seen so many people talk about it, so I find it weird that it did not get a lot of sign-ups to HBO Max. So question is, I wonder how many people actually pirated it and didn't actually pay money to see it. They watched it
probably the majority. The majority.
So another
that's what I would have done if it wasn't available, like on a streaming service here.
On a streaming, yeah.
Like,
and the thing is,
full disclosure, that's how I watched Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat. Like, because it's not available on like any services to like stream on, so I was just like,
he's legally not allowed to leave his house.
Yeah, that too. But like,
were you guys still legally pent up? Good for Canada.
Yeah, some
Taking
places
it
are
seriously.
shit about this pandemic.
Aaron's from Florida. They don't believe in anything. There's some wild.
They don't believe in disease, man. They're still just learning about AIDS down here. It's crazy.
My dad's
learning
an
the hard
actual
way.
doctor, and sometimes I wonder, like, some of the shit they say. Like, that's just how it goes, man.
Right.
Straight up down here, they literally just put out a mandate that was just like, if you were vaccinated yesterday, you can walk around without your mask off. And I'm like, that's not how that works at all. But sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at the box office too, just based on what the total returns are. And besides Joker and Aquaman, none of the movies have made over $1 billion. But really looking at it, you know, if we're going from let's say Man of Steel to say Wonder Woman, since Justice League that came in theaters, it's, you know, a mix of Whedon and Snyder. They've all made more money than any of the stuff post Snyder outside of like Aquaman and Joker.
True.
Because worldwide, because, you know, Man of Steel was the lowest of the Snyder stuff, was 667 million.
So this is,
and then it pretty much went up besides with Suicide Squad.
And Joker was kind of like it was like a cultural thing. Like everybody was talking about that movie too.
Right. And so I feel like I should say, because, you know, we've talked about this plenty of times on the show. I'm not the biggest Snyder fan. I like the movie. I think it's fine. I don't think it's like the next best superhero movie, but it's okay. But I said from the get-go, I think one of the first topics we ever talked about when I joined this show had to do with the Snyderverse campaign last year. Mm-hmm. And I said then, it's a fucking stupid idea from a studio perspective because it's not going to do what they want it to do. I think this is the honest truth, right? We live in a bubble as film fans. And in the film community and in the comics fans community, #Restore the Snyderverse is this huge progressive movement that's doing all sorts of great things, and it's inspiring filmmakers to want to see their vision. But as somebody who has a number of personal friends that aren't ingrained in the movie world the way that I'm in, this is the honest truth. A number of them started the film. I don't know any of them that finished, and none of them really seem to care. And that's really what most of the world is at. They don't really seem to care about Snyder's vision. They just want good movies. And when you look at the numbers, like Matt, you're right. Gross-wise, the movie, since some of them have grossed less, but their budgets have also been massively reduced. True. And I honestly think part of the reason the budgets are so high had to do with Snyder. Because we've heard the reports on Snyder's cut of Justice League, right? Mm-hmm. They gave him 30 mil. He went and shot shit against orders, raised the budget to 70 mil. If these are the types of decisions he's making as a director and he's spending money he wasn't actually being given, and I'm not saying he does that on every film, but what I'm saying is do it once and you might have done it before. Like there's a pronage to doing stuff like that.
Do you think he did that just to say fuck you to Warner Brothers though?
I think so.
Potentially, but spending $40 million you weren't given is also a lawsuit waiting to happen if they're not nice to you.
Yeah, that's one of the things where it's like, do it once, one too many. Like there's especially in the business world, like regardless of your mindset, 9 out of 10 times if you're borrowing money from someone and you're like, or you give someone a budget and you go over even by $1 in their minds, nope.
And so that's the thing, right? And so like, as somebody who respects the creativeness of filmmakers, even though I don't love everything he makes, I have a hell of a lot of respect for Snyder for being someone that doesn't like to compromise on his vision and his style and his way of directing. Even the fucking Owl movie, like when you're watching a Snyder film, you know you're watching a Snyder film. Yeah. Right? And I can respect that. As somebody who enjoys other filmmakers who are a similar way, I just happen to lean more towards their style than I do Snyder's at times, right? And I'd even say that for someone like Michael Bay. I can't stand most of Bay's films, but you know what? I respect that you have a vision and you know what you want to do with it. You know, I don't want to see giant robot balls, but if you like robot balls, you're going to get robot balls.
Would you rather see robot balls or Dr. Manhattan's dong?
Dr. Manhattan's dong.
I mean, that was a beautiful dong. It was a very glorious dong. I'll take that every day.
It made
me family members that went the other way after singing it. Like, you know what? I wasn't leaning that way, but now
he exploded. He exploded to get his dong. I exploded once I saw his dong.
I mean, I mean, I don't know. Nick is not here. We won't get any mention of a different robot dong. But that being said,
was the robot dolls came in a PG movie that I took my cousins to see, and they were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I'm not explaining this shit to you.
You'll find out when you get older, son."
That was the part that like really pissed me off about it. I was like, you could have just not had it in there, and I wouldn't have had to have that conversation. And I'm not taking them to see Watchmen. It's an R-rated movie, like hard R.
Yeah.
If there's a dong showing up, whatever, it's fine.
That was my first dong I saw with my dad too.
But anyway,
in theaters.
What an impressive first one.
Wasn't
but
anyway, damn it.
They don't all look like that, Matt. I want to point that out.
Malcolm has a real point he wants to make, and we're talking about penises. Go ahead, Malcolm.
To get back onto topic,
penises.
All
right, boys, take them out.
Blue penises.
I don't think we need this Snyderverse to continue. I think at this point with the DCU, I think that just needs to go back to being a singular story that's not connected, and maybe if they want to connect it, do post-credit scenes or don't try to speed up to catch up to Marvel. And I think that's
Marvel's over, and DCU can't even get started.
And it's one of those ones that watching Zack Snyder's vision for Justice League. I mean, while I enjoyed it, there's a few moments in there which I think would have stuffed up Aquaman. Because that was the next movie that came out after Justice League. So, because I think there's a little bit about Mira's parentage and stuff that wouldn't have worked in Snyder's one. That would have made Aquaman seem so disconnected from it, because I think they had her parents die in Aquaman, but they were already dead or something in Snyder's vision. I might have had that mixed up because I don't. But I mean, the thing is, like, everyone goes, "Oh yeah, we would have got this movie in theaters." Like, really?
No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, that exactly. It's real.
No, you wouldn't have.
You would have. They would have had it cut down a little bit more.
And
I mean, I really. And
sorry, finish.
Yeah, what I would have liked to see is maybe this released on DVD or something, and then that way all this like the fanboys of the Snyder Cut could go buy the DVDs and get a lot of money from the DVD sales. And they probably would have made a lot more money than just putting it straight on streaming. Where
there could have been a 3-hour cut of the Snyder Cut and then a 4-hour cut of the extended Snyder Cut.
Right, and that's where I was getting at is like, and I remember talking to a friend of mine who, again, not in the movie world, didn't really understand what was happening, and they were like, "So is this the movie they were going to release in theaters?" And I was like, "This is the movie they were going to release in theaters if they put all the deleted scenes back in and then shot even more to add to it, because that's really what it is. There is footage, especially everything post credits. There's footage in this film that was not a part of the original version of this movie that was added." And like, I remember when we did our review of it, I said straight up, where you cut, like, if I would like to see the version of this movie that's edited to theatrical runtime, because I wonder how that goes over. And this is one of my biggest issues with Snyder as a filmmaker, and it's a pet peeve that I have with all directors who have this issue. The general runtime, I can deal with a longer movie, but the general runtime of a film is under 3 hours. Unless you are delivering one of the best films I have ever seen, if your movie is 3 hours or longer and you don't have, and you're not, like, if you need more than 3 hours to tell your story properly, then you have failed as a director because you understand how films work. Like, my thing, I've never seen the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman. I'm sure it's better, but my thing is, if you couldn't tell your movie in 2.5 hours and you needed a whole extra half hour just to get your story right, then you have failed the story as a director, because you shouldn't need 3 hours to tell your story.
I agree on that, because I like the ultimate cut, but I do admit even the ultimate cut, 30 minutes could be taken out. But the 30 minutes that is added shifts into that 30 minutes and then takes a different 30 minutes out. You know what I mean? So I still think 2.5 hours should have worked. They should have just taken out a different 30 minutes instead of the 30 minutes.
And I stand by that stance for every director. Like, even Tarantino to me has that problem, right? Like, I really like The Hateful Eight. I like it more than most people. That movie doesn't need to be that long. I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That movie didn't need to be that long. Tarantino's kind of drowning on his own self-indulgence a little bit at this point. His movies don't need to be that long. They're still good, but you can tell that story in less time. You know, we don't need 10 minutes. We don't need 10 minutes of feet. Like, you can cut that shit out, man. Like, that's your own. Keep that for your personal thought.
I agree with you.
Don't be insulted in Henry's Google searches right now, all right?
I'm so sorry, Henry. Nothing personal.
Yeah. See, he made a post saying stop, talking negative about him. But anyway,
go ahead, man.
I agree with you for the most part. I think you can make a 3-hour movie and be fine with it. There's plenty of stories that can be 3 hours long and be fine. Look at the Lord of the Rings. Look at the Lord of the Rings. Look at the extended editions. We all agree.
Look at The Hobbit.
Okay, those don't count.
It has to be done right. We do agree on that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think the runtime dictates the quality of the movie.
So here's my thing: you can earn it if you earn it. Like The Wolf of Wall Street's a long film, but I think it earns it.
Yeah.
Silence is a long film that I really like, but I don't think it earns
long
it.
Movie, but it earned it for 3 hours and a half.
Right.
I mean,
right. I don't think Justice League earns it. Even if you cut the last 30 minutes out and make it a 3.5-hour film, I don't think Zack Snyder's Justice League earns it.
But here's the thing. There's a difference between, and I've said this in the past, there's a difference between the Snyder Cut and then, say, Lord of the Rings, yada, yada, yada. This is not going to theaters. So this is like
But it's a theatrical film, so I have to treat it as such.
It's not a theatrical film. It's a
HBO Max movie. So that to me
this is like the Lord of the Rings extended cuts. Those,
No, I'm sorry. That to me, well, but it's a theatrical quality film. Like, the whole point of it is it's meant to be a theatrical quality film. And I don't think those would be that long either.
If they were releasing it in theaters, of course it would be cut down. Okay, of course, maybe it would be closer to 3 hours, but it would, of course, be cut down. But this is basically the extended edition of what his movie would have been.
But here's a better way to phrase my argument to you. This is like Movie Battleground. Here's a better way for me to phrase my argument to you.
You got 4 judges here.
If we had an original cut to base this with, then I might agree with you. But we don't. We have a totally different film. It's a different film.
The same thing.
Okay, Aaron, I'll meet you in the middle here. Because of the circumstances of Zack Snyder's loss, this is the one few times where you have to compromise that argument.
No, and I agree with you there.
If that movie came out without the scenario and it was Zack Snyder's, and then the whole argument was, they cut it down, so now release the Snyder cut. So it's like the movie we got was the Snyder cut, but now they're trying to like backtrack and be like, no, that's not the real Snyder cut. Then yes, you'd be right. Like an extra 2 hours is overkill. But because they completely reshot, there's only there's at least 45 minutes of Joss Whedon's Justice League that's not in the Snyder cut at all. So there's a lot of movie, you know what I mean? So there's 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes of a 2-hour original Justice League that is not in the Snyder cut. So the fact that we got a 4-hour movie, that's one of the few where it's like that. There's like 2.5 hours of that 4 hours is pretty much new material. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to understand that this is a different film, and that's why. So the first cut, technically, he didn't get to do that because they're like, hey, the whole promotion is release the Snyder cut. You're going to get all 4 hours, like it or not, and let's see how it goes. Now we're going to show you what my vision was, and then we can talk for the future.
That's fair.
What? So, Midi, who are you going to give your point to in Raw?
I mean, I'm going to start filibustering just the way I do in the actual TMG matches.
All right, Chris, give your point. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think with Zack Snyder, he has divisive genius, and when he gave a smaller budget, like 2.5-hour movie, I haven't seen it yet. It's coming out on Netflix. I think the Army of the Dead, whatever it's called.
Yeah. That's not 3 fucking hours, is it?
No, it's 2.5 hours.
All right.
However long it is, it looks fun.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming out saying it's a fun movie.
That's what I hope.
And it's getting decent reviews, like the Snyder Cut, for the film, he's getting a little bit better. I don't think he should just focus on making his own movie rather than try to do
That's a good way to end it, because that was actually the question. Should we continue the Snyderverse? And
See,
Chris
alright,
says
so-
no, and we kind of all agree.
So how about this? We'll move on to one more topic before we close the show. But we've had the discussion. We've all presented our points. Matt, the one thing I was going to say is, I agree with, and Henry, your justification as well. I'm talking about it from a critical perspective, as if this weren't a special situation. When the passing of a family member, especially by way of suicide, plays into it, it does take a different approach. And I've said as much, when we talked about like the Ray Fisher stuff, Snyder and everyone involved got screwed up the ass. So I get that this is a particular situation. I mean, on other things, like a better Snyder example without setting off a debate is when people say, "Oh, you need to watch the 3-hour cut of Watchmen." If you really needed an extra half hour to, and I don't know how long the original one is, but like that's my thing is like if you really needed all that extra time to tell a better story, then I think you have failed the first time around.
That's a good example, because Watchmen.
The comparison I was going to use, and this is where I was coming at it from, talking about it as like a theatrical quality film, is I remember one of my friends is a comedy fan, and they saw the 40-Year-Old Virgin for the first time, and they ripped into it. They liked it, but they ripped into it, as with most Judd Apatow films, because it's too long. But then they saw King of Staten Island and went, "Oh, well, it's too long, but it was on at home, so it's whatever. Like, it wasn't a theatrical film." And I'm like, no, but it was. It was a theatrically made film that was still too long. It still got that criticism. Just because it's a home release doesn't change that. But so
the way I look at it,
and hold up, I'm going to say one final round, Matt. I will let you. I will let you speak on it as well, because we'll finish that point up. And then just one final yes or no. Is it worth continuing? I'm going to say no. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So this is basically the before the cuts you would make for the theatrical thing. This is every single thing that was filmed. It was all thrown together. If this movie was going to go to theaters instead of the one we got in 2017, they of course would have cut stuff out. Because you don't need to have Aquaman's sweater be sniffed by a bunch of random women.
Oh, that was weird.
We don't need that. Just like we didn't need the Russian family. There's things in the movie you don't necessarily need in there, and they would have cut the stuff out. Wait, sorry, Mitty.
I said they can sniff my sweater anytime.
Yeah, they can, look. They can suck more than my sweater, but you could totally remove.
We did a meeting out for GG and I had to make coffee for about.
True, like you could cut all there's stuff that can be cut out. This is before it goes into the cutting room floor.
Right.
Since this was not, because this is different than King of Staten Island too, because this version of the movie was not going to go to theaters at all, because they were clearly wanting to move on from him. He explained how working with Warner Brothers on this movie in particular was basically torture. Like, just working with Warner Brothers, which I can understand for the most part, but still. Because they're so flippy floppy. But this is like the extended editions of Lord of the Rings. Of course, all that stuff not gonna be in it at all. I'm sure you could find some random person that's good with editing and whatnot to make a 2.5 hour, 2:45, somewhere around Endgame runtime version of the movie, and it would be better as far as a theatrical experience. And do I think it's going to continue? No. Would I like to see it continue? Yeah, but it wouldn't make sense with a lot of what they're doing.
Yeah, too bad we can't get Diffridge and Dotson into more DCU movies.
Right. But just give me Henry Cavill and something.
Bring Henry Cavill, bring
So hold on, Chris. Hold on, because we'll go around and do the yes and no now and get to our last topic. Matt, yes or no?
Personally, yes. But I can see it not happening.
Chris, yes or no?
I would love to say yes, but it's sadly not happening. If they could bring back characters like Gabriel Dawson, yes, but at this point, reboot the whole thing like they have Flash, the damn Suicide Squad, and Batman go. Maybe things would get better. Right.
Malcolm, yes or no?
No.
Madi, yes or no?
I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's happening.
And Henry.
Dirty Sanchez, dirty sweep. Nah.
All right, beautiful. Okay, boys. So we have 3 more discussion topics that I kind of picked out and had on hand.
Okay.
We'll do a vote on which one we want to spend the last 10 or so minutes on. So do we want to do because I meant reference these all before. Malcolm, you probably won't get all this, but the Disney Plus shows one, the Secret Invasion one, or the Dark Universe one.
Go Dark Universe.
Dark Universe, just because we've already been talking dark and universes.
Okay, so we got 3 votes for Dark Universe. That's majority.
Dark
Okay, so
Universe,
we'll do
I have no idea what it is, so let's talk about it so I can learn about it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll read the paragraph write-up that I had for it. All right,
I'm
so
gonna bring up this comment first that I think is really nice. Thank you, Inside the Horseshoe Podcast, for saying that I'm a great.
Sorry, Matt. I did see it earlier,
no.
but I didn't. I did see it earlier, but I don't like showing fellatio on screen. So
whoever wrote that is a genius, just like they call.
I don't know. I wonder which
It's
one of us is
Inside
gonna
the
plug
Horseshoe
the Inside the
Podcast. I
Horseshoe
think I've heard of it.
Podcast.
Yeah, I wonder who does that.
Did it say Inside the Horseshit Podcast? What?
Horseshoe Podcast. See? Look, I'll bring it up again because it's a great comment. Whoever made the thumbnail should be making posters.
It's not a shitty logo that they got, but yeah, I see.
I should
Shitty
be
logo
making
for a
posters.
shitty
It's
fucking
great
state.
logo. Look, it's a wonderful team. It's a
Trash
fantastic
state.
team.
So you guys have
It's
a photo
trash state, but great team.
I will mute you if you don't stop filleting yourself on screen.
Go for it.
I'm talking about my state being trash.
We're not talking about potted plate, man.
Yeah, same
We're
thing.
having a great team.
I don't
It's a
think
blowjob
I don't
sucks.
think Inside the Horseshoe Podcast will make a top 12 list on podcasts.
You know, it will be there eventually. Even though there's
Fucking yikes.
only
Top
one.
12 podcast run
I'm
by
gonna try not to go into rainbow.
All right, Dark Universe.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
speaking
Why
of,
Henry's the
Listen,
one keeping us
this
on
is-
track.
This
I
is
never
this
would
is
have guessed.
this is about as well handled as the writer's room for Dark Universe was, which we learned. Here we go. A couple of weeks ago, writer Eric Heiserer, who is best known for his successes, including writing the horror films Final Destination 5, Lights Out, and the sci-fi Denis Villeneuve epic Arrival, gave an in-depth interview talking about his experience being involved with the writer's room for Universal's failed Dark Universe. Heiserer was one of many writers who was involved in the actual writer's room who never got to actually produce a full script. However, Universal never actually released a full list of names of people involved, so the only ones we know were the ones who went on to write The Mummy. So Heiserer has said that he was involved in it, and while speaking with the playlist, he got really blunt about what happened in the room. He described it as, quote, strange, saying that they had a talented room of creative writers who couldn't come to any sort of middle ground on what they wanted the universe to be. They'd often break out into aggressive arguments, and he compared it to angry relatives on Thanksgiving. Even though basic comps, he said, ugh, fucking damn it. Even basic concepts like should the monsters be portrayed as heroes, villains, or anti-heroes couldn't be agreed on. Then at some point, the overall room began believing that they could succeed and cross bridges when they got there rather than pre-planning. He said a real quote that was said by a writer he left unnamed was, quote, "We can build the plane when we fly it." To which he and fellow writer John Spates, who was one of the credited writers on The Mummy, completely disagreed with. Heiserer and Spates are currently getting the chance to work on a reboot of Van Helsing alongside director Julius Avery of Overlord fame. Heiserer revealed that he and Spates were originally chosen for the project and stepped back from the others within the room because they truly believed that the universe would fall apart and fail before they ever got the chance to make their film. But what the pitch they gave to the studio afterwards was something that the studio chose to carry on separately, similarly to how Lee Winnell's Invisible Man was, which was praised. He then went on to state that even though John Spates is credited with writing the story for the film, he was only involved in the early stages and stepped away from the project when he didn't like the direction it was going in. So the end part is kind of him trying to put a get out of jail free card for his buddy, but yeah, he gets really blunt. I mean, the fact that he straight up admitted, yeah, we have this project because we just stopped communicating with them because we thought they were going to fail. So we just wanted to make sure we got this on our own is kind of incredible to admit. I don't know who wants to tackle this first, but it's kind of interesting getting an insight into what was happening as to how this fell apart so quickly.
This is like an Indiana Jones where he's on the bridge and he cuts the rope while he's still on the bridge. Like, you know it's basically suicide and you're killing everyone around you. But you're like, all right, let's just fucking do it. Except the difference is they weren't in trouble beforehand.
I have to say,
to cut the bridge.
I like Chris's sign referencing Transformers. We've still yet to see if that will actually fail, because all that's come out of it since they formed the writer's room was The Last Night and then Bumblebee, which was good. We discussed a few weeks ago on the show, they currently have like 5 different projects in development that are still all in active development. It's just a matter of, will one of them fail badly enough that they cancel them? But yeah,
I mean, we've got is Bumblebee 2 in production, isn't there?
Bumblebee 2 is one of them, yes.
The thing is, like, that whole thing just seems like these are professional writers. Right?
Yes.
Like, these motherfuckers are paid for this. They've studied for this. They're prepared for this. And for some reason, they can't figure out that you need to plan shit ahead of time.
Yes.
Like, that's the part for me that I'm just like, who paid you? Like, who allowed you to do this? Like, I wouldn't go to a doctor and be like, hey, you've done your research. You know what you're doing, right? It's like, yeah, I did a YouTube video on it or some shit. Like, that's not who I want working on it. Like, I want someone who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah. So to kind of set that even further, and then Malcolm, I'll let you go because I saw you getting ready. Another detail that was included in the story was, so a lot of people didn't really know how closely Dracula Untold was related, because Dracula Untold obviously had that, like, I don't think it was a post-credit scene, but it was like just something that got shipped onto the end of the film to be like, he lived to modern day, and we don't really know. According to Heiserer, the writer's room was put together as early as during the post-production of that film, which is part of the reason that scene ended up in the movie. And their plan was originally to attach Luke Evans as Dracula directly to the universe. They then stepped away from that idea when Dracula Untold failed because they didn't want to start with a failure. They then went on to make The Mummy, so that kind of says everything there. But Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that the Rose Room was formed, because I'd love to see the reality TV show inside the Dark Universe writers' room. Because just hearing all that drama is like, this sounds like it's a really good or bad episode of Big Brother, depending on which way you want to look.
Yeah, but I mean, that and Transformers writing room. I want to know how they came up with the idea.
I mean, it's one of those ones. And I mean, I don't hate a lot of the writing of Transformers, but that being said,
Bumblebee was fine. That was a writer's room result.
Bumblebee is up there with the best ones.
I know talked about the last night and the whole drunk Marilyn and the Transforming the Hitler time. I want to know who came up with that stupid idea.
I mean, I don't know. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is kind of movie Hitler, so I can kind of see how they ended up there.
Not a huge jump.
But I mean, like, when I heard that that they'll go to even do a Dark Universe, there's all these Universal monster movies, sort of in one universe, it's like, really? Why? I mean, you don't need it. Doesn't need to be a thing, but it was, and it failed because of it. I don't think the writers were the complete issue here. I think the issue was they were trying to do a combined universe of something that really shouldn't have had been a combined universe in the first place. But I want to see Zack Snyder go there and get Zack Snyder's Dark Universe.
Hey, all jokes aside, that would be low-key decent.
I'd love to see it. I'd honestly love to see it. Him doing Dracula would be like,
all he has to do is all that rage that he has towards Warner Brothers, just put that into that universe, and his writing just go on a safe bender over the weekend, just write, lock yourself in a room, write, and just pour out your heart from Warner Brothers, and boom, the Dark Snyder universe.
I like how Henry says that with half his body off camera, like he's hiding from Zack Snyder's wrath. Like, no, don't include me.
Henry's not legally allowed to be on camera for more than 2 hours.
If it happens, Zack Snyder, I want a story credit. I want a credit for the idea.
You already have enough credit for directing the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films. Malcolm, quit being greedy.
Yeah, Malcolm, you've made enough, and King Kong too. Don't forget about that. But...
I wish I could. It's so long.
Damn.
King Kong's a good version of something that did not need to be that long. That was ridiculous. That 3 hours.
Yeah, that's 3 hours. It was great in parts, but like it didn't need to be that long.
The extended version of King Kong is better.
I'm not watching no goddamn King Kong.
No.
All right, so
no,
I'll
there's
talk. I'll
only-
talk real quick. I'll say my one part of the actual Dark Universe thing. This is
Right.
the definition of no one can just compromise, and everyone's egos are so big, even if they're like small scale. Like you said, who are these writers? So you shouldn't have any writer. I mean, you shouldn't have any egos. You should just be doing your thing. You should just play your part, contribute, and put together a decent story or a good story. And their egos in today, everyone's writing's room. Unless you have a coherent story, it is 100% fact that your story and your movie as a whole is going to be affected negatively, and it's just a shame. Everyone's turning out these terrible movies or these lackluster movies or these failed potential movies because the writing every time or stale direction. But that's just how it is with movies. But the writing 9 out of 10 times with a lot of these failures is because of the writing, and the most complaint is the story. And it's just so stupid. Like, have one writer, maybe two, and put out the movie that you want to put out. These conjoint writing rooms, it just never works. Name one movie where it's like that was a hit, amazing, top tier movie, and you had more than 3 writers on the story. It just doesn't happen, and it's shown.
I'm trying to think.
And so to give you an idea, I don't know how big the writer's room is, but we do have a number of names in it. So between screenplay and story credit, The Mummy has 6 writers credited. And so the names on that list, since I pulled it up, so the names on that list, obviously we know Eric Heisserer was in that room. And again, I think he's got a pretty decent filmography. Like, I've heard Final Destination 5 is actually way better than it should be for a 5th film.
Yeah.
What was the other ones? Lights Out's a pretty solid film, and Arrival is a hailed modern masterpiece. So he's got some good credits behind him. The other writers in that room include
Tommy Wiseau,
David Koepp, who's the mind behind Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, Spider-Man.
Hold on, the original Jurassic Park or like the newer ones?
The original.
Yeah, he's with him. We were talking about when I saw David Koepp in the writing, like on IMDb, I was like,
yeah, he helped
got good
Indiana
credits.
Jones 4. Yeah,
he's got good credits,
but he's hit or miss.
But it just shows even good writers, if there's a writing room, it's just never going to mesh. You can have a bunch of good ideas that don't go together.
Yeah.
So here's some more of the names just to throw it out, because there were some big names in that room. We have Christopher McQuarrie, who, in terms of writing, is known for. I
just wrote a trivia question about that.
The usual is known for The Usual Suspects, Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow, the Mission Impossible films now recently, Valkyrie. So he's got some big credits to his name.
Is Jack Reacher? Is that the character Joker was talking about in that post-credit scene of Justice League with the reach around comment? Like, is that who's talking about Jack Reacher? Okay, just making sure.
That's a long-winded joke, but I got you.
John Husman, who has no other writing credits to his name, so this was his debut. The aforementioned John Spates, who prior to The Mummy worked on Prometheus, Doctor Strange, and is also one of the credited writers on Dune.
The new Dune, right? Obviously.
Jenny Lumet, who is the daughter of Sidney Lumet. I saw the name and I was like, I wonder. So, daughter of Sidney Lumet. Her only other film credit as a writer is Rachel Getting Married.
I've heard that was decent. So.
And then obviously Alex Kurtzman, who is kind of the brainchild behind all of this. He has Mission Impossible 3, Transformers, Star Trek,
Walking
Star Trek
Dead,
Into
right?
Darkness. Did he write for The Walking Dead? I can check.
Isn't that what he's most known for, ain't it?
He did not, no.
Is it the same Alex Kurtzman or a different one?
Yeah, I thought that was the Walking Dead guy, right?
The one who read the comics. I don't think he wrote the show.
Okay, maybe. Okay, yeah, but
if he
that's
wrote
the
the
same
comics,
guy.
that's a different thing. I'll have to look at.
Yeah, but that's him. I thought I couldn't remember if it was a show, but yeah, that's him, and that's what I'm saying. A good writer put together with a bunch, it just doesn't work. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I just don't understand.
Everybody didn't have a bad day. Look at Ty Sheridan. He wrote Without Remorse, and that was a piece of crap this year. So everybody had a bad day in the office.
While you're looking that up,
Don't you mean Taylor Sheridan?
Taylor Sheridan?
Ty Sheridan's an egg,
Yes,
I
he
know
wrote
that.
the script to what
Okay. You said Ty Sheridan, and I was like, you right?
Without Remorse.
Good for him.
Yeah, but I mean, like even thinking of musical bands, not many bands work
because of conflicting ideas, and that's just how it goes.
But on the other end, you have a group together, and they work better than they do individually.
From what I've heard, from critical reviews, Taylor Sheridan is 1 for 2 with 2 films this year, as in Without Remorse and whatever the one that just came out is called. Fuck me, what's it called?
Those Who Wish They Were Dead.
I'll Kill You in the Woods or some shit.
Those Who Wish They Were Dead both are apparently like half decent from what I read review wise.
Yeah,
I heard his direction was better than his writing on Those Who Wish.
The title of my biopic.
No, his writing about Remorse was.
My biopic is called The Reach Around.
Was that was Salima, right? The guy who did the Sicario sequel.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet. I knew about it.
Stefano
Salima.
Thank you, Stefano Salima. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm real quick with my IMDb searches.
Which I heard was just okay as well. I haven't seen the Sicario sequel, so.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, unless anybody has anything to add about Dark Universe, I think that'll be the show.
Yeah, I got Happy at Dead, and we got Invisible Man, and then Wolfman coming out. So we're getting much better stuff now than the Dark Universe.
You guys remember being excited when you were like, "Oh man, Johnny Depp is gonna play like
the Invisible Man."
The Invisible Man, and this guy's
Angelina Jolie, Frankenstein's Bride.
Yeah, it was gonna be like this huge thing. They had all these A-list people, and then we got 2 movies, and that was it.
And then we got a better Invisible Man movie by Elizabeth Moss from last year.
I think John Cena should have played the Invisible Man.
Why? Because you can't see him?
That role his entire life.
Bam! All right, guys. I think no, I'm just kidding. Let's end on a good note, Malcolm.
I think you are.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Those of you who have stayed tuned in the entire time, I don't know how you do it, but thank you for watching. We'll go ahead around the panel, let everybody plug what they're doing. Henry, thank you for coming on, man. As with all our other guests, we look forward to having you back in the future. Where can good people find you?
Started up a new channel. There'll be movies talking about trivia called There'll Be Trivia, and the Against the Grain podcast that I'm actually considering putting on my main channel, which is Henry Confidential. So go ahead and check out those 2 things. And if you are interested in playing the There'll Be Movies Facebook group, go ahead and join that. And I put out stuff whenever I'm playing. So have some fun. Everyone literally here is either playing or going to be playing. Matt, you're always invited.
Matt's like, I can't be bothered getting a whiteboard at this point. But D, thank you for coming on, man. Where can people find you?
Man, I bought a whiteboard for this shit, so Matt, you can do this. Don't worry about it. It's not even that much. $5
You can do it.
You find a good one. You don't have to buy.
Matt, you're muted.
Ben Bateman one.
Yeah, Jesus, that thing was massive.
Oh, so you guys didn't hear my Johnny Depp being recast by Matt Nicholson joke?
It was so good. We ended the show.
Leo is also being
it was the John Cena of jokes. We just couldn't hear it.
Mads Mikkelsen replacing Johnny Depp, and then Leo's replacing Mads Mikkelsen. It's just the sequence of how it goes.
Makes sense. Yes.
No, you can find me on basically.
We haven't talked about that yet. As somebody who actually saw another round, fuck that shit. Go ahead.
You can find me on basically anything at MediR. I'm on Henry's channel every now and then. I'm on the TMG stuff every now and then. I'm with Malcolm on the Rankum every now and then. What other shows am I randomly on?
Just don't call anybody ugly, and you'll be fine.
You know what? No comment. I'm not even going to say shit on that.
Can you at least say you're sorry? Jesus Christ.
Medi pleads the fifth. Malcolm.
Also, my OnlyFans is having a discount, 30% off. It's super rare. Never again going to happen.
Can we hurry up and end the stream so I can sign up?
You will get to learn the answer if his beard shape is on his pubic hair, too. You will get
it is. Spoiler alert.
It's more Jafar down there.
It's like...
I scared Chris away with that one.
There's a little bit of hair over top, as and then like a big.
Oh God! All right, Malcolm, class up the joint. Where can people find you?
Anyway, you can find me over on There'll Be Movies, beating Medi in movie trivia.
Boom, roasted.
There's not much going to come from everybody.
But you can find me over on Take 3, where I host Rankum. The poll's still active for what you want next week's topic to be. I'm pretty sure I know what's going to win because it's so far in the lead. I don't think anything's going to catch up at this point. But you can also find me over on Full Metal, where I host Full Metal Classic on Sundays and Full Metal Random on Tuesday, and this week's topic is 2010s movies. And you can also find me over on Features Presentation Productions tomorrow, before Classic as well. So,
Chris, where can people find you?
YouTube, Facebook, I have a bunch of matches coming up, just stay tuned. Like, it'd be fun after trying to get some reviews out now that movie theater will be open. Got a bunch of movies.
Is Henry pulling up the Facebook poll? What's the number one option? I can't
Top
read
12
it.
Studio Ghibli.
Oh,
Yeah.
Studio Ghibli.
Oh, if only I'd seen any of those. Matt, where can you
Wow.
find you?
Cancel Aaron right now.
I mean, you've got a week to watch them all.
There you go.
When you get on HBO Max, then
I was to say HBO Max, baby, America.
Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me here on this channel doing shows like After Dark, which you're watching right now. Also, you can find me and Alan doing politics on a show called Cancel the Show. Has not been canceled yet. Will it get canceled? We'll find out. And then, of course, you can find me on my other channel, Inside the Horseshoe Podcast. Guess
All right,
what?
we're
It was
up,
me,
guys.
guys.
Whoa, that's you?
It was me. Surprise. Bet you didn't see that
What?
coming. See, look.
It was
I had to be hacked.
it was Matt Beer all along.
I was hacked, to be fair. Somebody hacked so they can do it. But look at all this. Look at these videos you can watch. Almost at
also you
200
being
subscribers. Be great if you could join me on that channel.
I'll join you on your OnlyFans, not your channel.
I have an OnlyFans. I just can't figure out the password.
He
So that's why
just
there's no
posts
content.
Unfiltered sports stats. That's all.
Yes.
It
Hot sports.
Hot.
is. Oh,
Like,
God.
look at
Definition
Andrew
hot
Luck's
take.
touchdown
numbers. Oh my God.
Is a
Those
hot take
numbers
another
are
term
so-
for a money shot?
I'll let you guys go. Come on, get it out. Get it all out. Get it
They're
out.
so big. Those stats.
Yeah, you have
Big.
your hot,
Brady's
your hot
list
take.
of records is so long.
A little deflated, but they're
A
long.
little deflated. It's fine. It's a
that
little
happens
crooked.
with old age, though. Sometimes
He's got at least 6 on him, maybe 7 on a good
At
day.
least.
Hey, you want to know?
I mean,
what's funny?
I think at this point you've lost the HBO Max sponsorship you don't even have yet.
You know what's
I think
funny, though?
HBO Max would want this. They created
Brady's,
late
Brady's
night stuff
stats-
like that.
Brady's stats, just like tons of other people, ended up finding a happy ending in Florida. So,
Yes.
and
At least someone's getting a happy ending.
Yeah.
it's not me.
I've been waiting for the stream to end so I can give myself one. We out?
I've been giving myself one for the past 2 hours. I don't know what you guys do.
All right, then shut the
Why do you think I don't want? Wait, you think I'm doing this for fun? No. I don't put my hands on screen. There you go. See?
Oh, Jesus. All right. Fuck it. I plug the shows every week.